You go back
You're
home.
already in, Matt.
Oh God! Oh God! Someone's calling.
I'm
Got it,
gonna
Matt.
hang up on
Oh man.
this chat.
Am I supposed to accept this?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
leaving
this chat.
Okay, bye.
Oh, this is
Hi.
weird.
Wow.
You guys hear in double?
Double,
Yeah.
double, double,
I
double.
did. It was awesome and weird.
Did we get Orchid in here?
I'm
And
working
back
on
to
it.
your camera went to shit.
Okay.
There we go.
We were just like, screw you, Orchid. We're out.
Bye.
Just turn camera on and off when she come back on.
I didn't
There
even
she
need to do
is.
that. Or do I? Where's my face? Do I see my own face?
God dang it, I'm in the bottom corner again. You guys know I don't like to be here.
No, I'm in the
You're in
bottom
the top
corner.
corner for
Look at
me.
herself.
In my corner, in my screen, I'm in.
In my corner, I'm in.
In my corner, I'm in the corner. Because that logic tracks.
It does. It makes sense. I buy it.
But who's in the corner on the big screen?
I don't know yet.
Black screen.
Right now it's black, yeah.
Looks like me.
Yes,
That's good.
wicked. Mrs. Hyven did just say she does not like being bottom.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wicked.
We just
High five,
discussed
Wicked.
phrasing last night.
Gonna stop
He
myself
said
there.
there's no more phrasing because it's all intentional.
There we go. Now everyone
There you go.
everyone
Now you
is.
can see where everyone is.
Yay!
Except
I
I
can
don't
see
know.
everybody at
So,
once.
like, whose cameras are still loading?
Kex probably.
Kex
Yeah.
You turned
and
it off.
Nope, Rhino's already here.
Yeah.
And I don't see me.
Elements.
Well,
Oh
yep, there
yeah.
we go.
So it
My
went
bad.
from
Oh,
cutting
fuck.
you off the screen to just being like, no, we're not going to let you load in.
Turn your
Right.
camera
Yeah.
off and then
It
turn it back
happens.
on.
Yeah, it might be because, yeah, I was about to say it could be
There we
because it
go.
was still registering as
Yay.
Hangouts.
Yeah,
Callie.
I still had Hangouts open for
Yeah.
the
Gonna
brief.
bark a lot and make me run away
Yeah.
this time.
Okay.
I don't think.
There we are.
Let me just.
Oh, that's lame.
Party.
Yeah, computer didn't work. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Yes.
back on your phone.
Yeah, I had to.
I mean, did you know?
I'm sorry.
But did you though?
He just fucking
Guys, I
left.
can't do this again. I already woke up with a headache from laughing too much yesterday.
That's what you
It's
get
too
when you
much.
have
Too much for one
man
weekend.
arms and Wicked in one chat at the same time.
Look at the
Oh,
professional
was
Kevin.
it was beautiful yesterday.
It was.
Oh my god.
Everyone can look forward to the episode next Friday.
All
All
right.
right. So now that all the technology has decided to cooperate,
Oh my god.
I'll finally tweet the link.
Struggle.
there you go. There you go. Now we feel now Anon feels like we're presentable enough to be associated with us.
Wow.
I also, while we're on that topic, I never got to check. I mean, I'm just gonna go on the honor system here. It's coming, right?
Ta-da.
For what? Yeah.
Coming on the show.
Yeah, that thing. We sent it by pigeon, so if you haven't gotten it by now, it might have gotten eaten on the way.
All right.
Well, it would just be stuck with Saint 14 if it went by pigeon. 'cause he
That's
probably
true.
just has it in his hanger with him.
Drafty's asking real quick, can we get a quick name and hand raise? So starting in on the main screen, starting in the top left, you're not going to see him raise his hand because he refuses to put a camera on, but it's Rhino, and then it's Anon.
I'm waving.
Oh, okay, he's waving for you, Anon, and then Orchard.
Orchid.
And
hi.
Orchid, whatever. You know what? I haven't had coffee yet.
It's a flower.
They're
It's a
literally
flower.
the same thing.
They're not the same thing at all. That is wrong.
An orchard of orchids?
An orchard of that's not how that works.
She's
I
the
am
one.
a tree
She's the
searcher,
tree
but
lady.
that's not
She's the
same.
tree lady.
I am
The tree lady.
I'm a tree lady.
Does all the
That's
tree
what
search.
I'm known as now.
Oh no.
Actually, I'm pretty sure
the
that's
official
right.
term is tree searcher.
Tree searcher. Oh, okay. All right.
Isn't
then
it a
you-
murder of orchids?
Yes.
Don't say.
Then you have Hyven.
Knowledge being dropped.
And Miss Hyven. And then starting on the bottom left, we have Baxter, Captain Kex,
It's me. Oh.
Mylan.
Hello.
Yay, he waved! And then Elmas, and then myself, Blue Crew 86. So, walked into Tree Lady. I have questions. Yeah. Well, that's good because we're here to answer questions.
Maybe not those questions,
Maybe not
They
those
retweeted
questions.
my tweet.
but questions.
I'm a
All
tree
right.
scientist. That's why I'm a tree lady.
Baxter, has the consensus been achieved?
Can you open that?
Yes.
Did
I
you
very slightly
suppress the?
tweaked-
Yeah, guys, dang it!
I slightly tweaked the weighting algorithm for a more. I feel like it's produced a better result.
Did
I
I
don't.
get more?
What do you mean?
He's suppressing the vote yet again.
You held your
Yes.
thumb on it, didn't you?
I just changed. I just changed the
You
algorithm.
suppressed
very
it so if there was only one vote, that didn't. Come on, I used my one vote
Rude.
because we discussed that this was weighted.
Yeah, no. See,
that one
this is
person.
exactly why I'm
I
looking at it.
double-checked the
Baxter has the
No,
most.
but no. So here's the
Baxter
thing.
has
right?
the most
Here's
weight.
the thing.
You just didn't
I
like my
definitely.
question.
I think it makes
I
sense.
beg to differ.
Let me just explain my justification here, okay? We can change it back if nobody agrees. It's fine.
There's like 4 questions. Let's just get to them.
I know there's not as many questions this
look,
time.
I can
Usually
tell
there's, like-
everyone this is how it's going to go. We're only going to do 2 questions anyway, and then
And
the
we're
rest
gonna-
is going to be.
We're gonna
Just
add
bullshitting.
5. Yeah,
The
And
we're
then
gonna
we'll be
add
like,
5
oh, we'll
questions.
catch up next. Another.
Uh-huh.
We got like.
Join us next time where we
14
answer one more
left,
question.
Look, I just
think
want to
that
talk
House of
about
Rain was
Guardians
secret
having
About the
babies.
previous
Fallen.
season.
I want to talk
so,
about Guardians having babies. That's the most important question I saw on that sheet.
Well, you see, now it has 2 votes.
It's
No, it has 2 votes.
It's question what? 4.
I think.
I'm sure we
let
could
me
get to
just
that
let
one.
me just think. See, hang on. Oh, are people voting? People just voted. Oh, everything's changing. Oh no.
Oh no, chaos.
I
just
need
like,
to
I'm done!
Lock it or something.
2, 3, it's 3.
I changed the algorithm very slightly because I felt as though if everybody votes for one question, apart from one person who votes for another question, then does that mean that which question should come first? Surely it should be the one that more people vote for.
Agreed.
So I still,
Yeah.
I see
it's
your
still
point,
weighted.
but I'm still
so if
mad
you only
about
vote
it.
for one thing, it counts for more points. But I just reduced the weighting slightly.
I was promised to be a super delegate, and I'm very upset.
I paid
We're
for
all
it.
super delegates here, so it's canceled out.
See, I'm feeling attacked here.
Look, it's
Wait,
still
guys-
it's still the third question from the top.
Yeah,
So-
so we better get to it, mister.
Okay, I'll try my best,
But
but
I'm gonna
really it's more
derail it from
dependent.
the-
Right
Start.
now, it's
Can we
in
just
danger zone.
please-
I can tell you that right
Rhino's
now.
here for an hour, and I value his opinion. Can we please get started?
All right,
Yes.
let's.
I value his
start
opinion.
First,
Started by singing happy birthday, and this time, shouldn't we start by congratulating Mylan? Or
Yeah,
not?
that's true.
yeah.
I just feel like,
Yeah.
you know,
For
Thanks.
we're gonna celebrate.
Congratulations.
There's no song for.
We're talking about
congratulating
we're talking
your
about the download file, right? Not anything else.
Yeah, yeah. 8 gig download file.
Yeah.
Next video.
What's the progress on it?
No, I finished. I'm uploading it right now.
Yay!
Amazing.
Yay.
Editing.
Oh, also congratulations on the other thing that you did.
Yeah, on your ginormous life decision and all.
As Chad is, congratulations on reaching the end game.
Aw.
That sounds vaguely ominous.
I hope the gear's good.
That means you're twice as a boss battle. What would a wedding raid look like? I have questions.
I have questions. All right,
Speaking
so
of
questions, yeah.
Segue.
Segue.
The first question, the question that got the most votes and has a score of 100.24.
Wow.
That's right.
What does this
That's so
Wait,
much.
why you went from third to
That-
fourth?
Shh, shh.
Who moves my sounds?
100.24 is the score, okay? So Morgan asked, shouldn't saving Saint 14 have negated the existence of the Sundial as its sole reason for being was to save him?
No.
No.
Absolutely not. Next question.
Next question. No.
Yes.
Should we
I
give
mean,
like an actual reason why?
This is more of a question about like what timeline theory they're using. Is it like multiverses? Is it a single timeline? And this is sort of what this question's about, really.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you're using a
timeline,
fixed timeline, that wouldn't, because a fixed timeline would assume that you had already saved him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like, if the Sundial being created meant that Saint 14 never went missing, that would be a paradox. But that isn't. The history that we have now is not a paradox. Like, Saint 14 went missing. Osiris built the Sundial. We then fixed things, and Saint 14 came back. It's not like history has kind of changed itself, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
I think
Saint 14
still
went
needs to
missing.
die. I hope he dies. I think he still needs to die.
Don't
I
say
would,
that.
as much as it would make me sad, I agree. I feel as though, like, if he was to die that in the Infinite Forest, then that would mean that what we saw was him dead in the Infinite Forest after we'd already met him.
Well, see,
But-
there's the rub. That's how they try to get away with that and circumvent, your normal laws of time travel. It closes the grandfather paradox loop,
Right?
Because of his witnessing us from early D1, grimoire or whatever you want to call it, and then being able to appear now, kind of allows us to not have to worry about the gem particle, is what they call it. That inescapable idea of you being able to birth your own creation.
Yeah, and I mean, again, going back to if it's a fixed timeline, then it was already something that happened. And with his character being presented with that scene in the earlier part of the season where we become the inspiration for him, it basically is the Merchant and the Alchemist Gates situation, where we're the one that causes it. And so it was always set that was going to happen. We just went through the motions of doing what was already done.
Your destiny was already fated.
Yeah.
That was a great reference.
I'm personally in the opinion of anything that happens in the past, even with the effects of time travel, happened because, time is a closed loop.
Yeah, it's a fixed time.
We've always saved Saint 14. He was never meant to actually stay dead in the Infinite Forest. There's nothing's going to happen to him. Nothing's going to happen to us. It's just how it was meant to happen.
Wait, so in some metaphysical way, does this mean this whole game is on rails?
Yes.
I mean, it absolutely is.
But
Not
by
in
this
a
whole
metaphysical
game,
way.
do you mean the universe?
In a literal
I
way.
actually think that's the whole irony of the genre name. Is that
Become
it's
legend.
faded. Yeah. Yeah, I it's shameless plug. I made a video about this a little while ago about
He just downloaded
it. Well, you guys you've heard the story of how it got its name. It just sort of stayed as a code name and they just never got rid of it, essentially.
You mean Tiger?
Yeah, well no, there's an article about the early naming of it with I'm pretty sure Chris Barrett's in it.
It was
some of the
codenamed
other
Tiger.
Well, it must have been after Tiger then. If this source is correct, I think it was like PC Gamer or something like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Did it. And they just had meetings, every Friday about new names for the game, and
just never went anywhere.
One of the reasons why it was called Destiny was, it was to live up to the expectations of Halo, right? So it was a bit of a pun in regards to giving it the name Destiny. And this is our new Destiny. And then they sort of never got rid of it. But I think they're building in lore of it in the lore now. It was probably not in their beginning, but I think the irony of it is to be that we are fated with the whole unveiling law book, and this is all going to play out, and we are destined to probably die, become legend, and we can't do anything about it.
Spoiler alert: your ghost will betray you in the end.
Ghosts are
I don't think
evil.
that's surprising to anyone.
This is hype.
When
and I
has an
think
AI
that.
ever betrayed a human?
Oh my god.
Never. It's never happened.
Absolutely
would-
not.
It would be great.
All
You
right,
know
that's a good. All right, we'll
the
do that
recent
question.
cutscene with Osiris, where he's like, "Whose side are you on?" But if he instead of shouting at Rasputin, he was shouting at a
Yelling at
ghost. That would be great.
I would love
Let's
that.
let's make
Just point a
that.
big gun at a ghost.
This is the
So
point where
did we cover the time travel question adequately? You think that was very quick for us?
I think we
Very
did.
quick.
I think we should move on to the next one.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So the next question is from Jack Bandit, and it has a score of 80.24. It's important to note these things.
Guys, I
So-
didn't even vote on this. So
What do you feel is the likeliest scenario for Bungie to bring all of its character story arcs together? And then they list a bunch of story arcs. Should I go through them?
It will
I think
take
they were
half a
trying to cover
second.
everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
They took their
Okay.
time to write
Okay.
'em, I
Fine.
guess.
Osiris, Elsie Bray, Mara, Uldren, Urus, Oryx, Savathun, Zivu, Drifter, the Emissary, the Nine, Rasputin, Callus, Varix, the Traveler, and the Darkness.
Plot twist: this is actually narrative team trying to think of ideas.
There is no likely scenario that they're all going to come together yet. They're looking for one right now.
Yeah. Who is the user on that question? Gee something?
Underscore BNG.
Yeah. I think I saw a Goff in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there is. Honestly, unless they're all controlled by the darkness, there's no way to bring all of the stories together.
You could
It'd
have
just
a
be like
massive
a
civil
nightmare.
War. Well, not really civil war, but a war going.
I think
Well,
we're already on
We're
the
just
path
gonna
of
have like
bringing them
Avengers
together.
Endgame, but it's just gonna
Yeah.
be Destiny Endgame.
Pretty much.
I don't personally think so. I mean, like, look at real life. Not everyone's story in life all wraps up unanimously together. Like, that's how this game is built up. It's built up as a society and various lives. Lives don't just completely wrap up together in a perfect bow.
Yeah.
I disagree with
Well-
that because I feel
Who's
like
that?
that's what this has been doing. Like this whole 2-3 seasons. What are we at now? 2 seasons?
I
Two.
think a lot can
2
be
seasons.
wrapped up together,
Going to
but
a
I don't
third.
think every single
Yeah.
storyline is going to come
But-
together in a perfect
Well, I
bow.
mean, of the list they
In the
have here,
context of the game, it seems to be working towards one common thread.
I
I
mean,
agree.
of the characters they have here, we have Osiris, who is saying there's a line in the sand, the universe, darkness, light, all that, which ties in Rasputin. Which side are you on? Uldren's dead, Elsie's dead, Oryx is dead. So, I mean, obviously, you can just kind of scratch them out. Drifter has his own plan. He wants to avoid everything. So, he's already kind of involved with the end. The darkness and the traveler are obviously involved with the end of the darkness coming to fight the traveler. Callus is the herald of the darkness. He's waiting to watch it come kill everyone. The Nine need us to survive. So obviously they're invested in this fight. And now it's the 5 and the 4. Half of them are on the light side, half of them are on the dark side. I mean,
Yeah, I
basically
agree with
everyone they list here is invested already in this fight.
So it's really the second collapse that we're working towards with the
Yeah.
big battle between light and
Yeah.
dark, and who's on what side, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really covered everyone except for like Zivu and Varix are the only ones we haven't seen in what current game. Well,
Mhm.
Yeah, we haven't
Ray.
seen anything.
I don't know
from-
if they're going to bring back up the stranger though.
Yeah, Varix.
We haven't
probably one of the
seen
more
anything
difficult
about
ones.
Zivu.
Yeah, why has the
Hmm.
stranger come up so many times lately? Like everyone's talking about her. but
Everyone's just, I think, hoping
They
for.
just
Because she's
want her
the
to
old
come
school
back.
Savathun. Everyone thinks that
Oh.
they.
Yeah, everyone was the
Yeah.
stranger at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think everyone was Banshee at one point, wasn't they?
Banshee was everyone at one point.
That's why he had so many
Oh,
resets,
that's
huh?
right. Yeah.
Got a lot of multiple personalities.
Poor Banshee.
I mean, I think the other way you answer that question is you think, how would they end the series? You know, like, does it, whether
Yeah.
it ends here or whether it goes in D3, like, you know, and it sort of makes sense to have something apocalyptic or to have that big finale, like a second collapse or something like that.
Yeah.
Because anything less would probably be a bit disappointing. Like, how do you wrap Destiny up? And I think if you gave something like an apocalyptic ending, you don't necessarily need to wrap anything up. Like, some things can stay unwrapped, like Varix, whatever, he died. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, if it's big enough, it can encapsulate a lot of narrative arcs.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think that
Without
it's odd that
necessarily
we're saying
telling
that
the
the
story.
only way you could wrap it up is that basically it has to be like a world-ending, world-shattering event that like ends everything to wrap it up in a bow. Like basically it all has to end for it to be wrapped up in a bow, or otherwise like there's no way to tie it all together. Like I don't
Yeah.
know
So
if that
you're
thought
thinking more that they
came
might
right.
just finish off a certain character's story arc, just kind of in
Yeah,
a separate
like
way.
I said, going back to my previous
Mm.
point, like lives finish off on their own separately. Yes, all of humanity could be wrapped up with an apocalyptic event, but that's not how it normally works. So I'm saying the only way I think that they could wrap everything up in a nice bow is some kind of apocalyptic event that ended everything.
I think
Well,
the
we know we're
question too
getting
is,
to
I
that
mean,
point,
the
though,
other thing is
because
like,
the darkness.
I mean, like, is it just going to continue? I mean, that's the other thing. We don't really know, because the thing is, the way they write it at the moment is to have like seasons, and it works like that. Like, you can introduce a new arc, and you can add new questions, you can answer some old ones, and you can continue the story. And it's a bit like that. They can just keep going on forever, you know, like,
yeah.
Right.
and maybe it will be like that. Maybe, you know, the next iteration, if there is an iteration, is just Destiny, and it's just ongoing. And
Well,
there will
Mylon, I
never
think
be
you
like a second collapse. There will never be something that just ends everything. It will just be these ongoing, you know,
right.
story arcs.
Well, Mylon, I think you touched on something that Bungie is known for, and that's leaving a lot of things open-ended. They don't have a good track history of closing out storylines. I mean, if you think back to even their early creations like Myth or Marathon, they left a lot of questions. A lot of things were never defined. And I think as far as Destiny is concerned, the way that they have outlined things very loosely and just continued to develop the story over the years has really been an unparalleled event. So they're kind of breaking their own rules a little bit, but at the same time, I don't see Bungie really closing anything. I think they could probably follow the same storyline development that Halo has, where they just decide that the new mystery was uncovered, and then they just keep propelling it forward. I mean, in Halo, we've discovered now what the Forerunner, which was the most ominous creatures in the universe, kind of like the darkness is in Destiny. I mean, we'll probably understand what the darkness is, but then it'll just open up a whole nother realm of possibility.
Well, you know, you get to an interesting point there. You know, with Halo, they just kind of passed off the reins for someone else. They never even wrapped up their own story, technically, because it's still going on. So I'd just be curious. My question would be then, do we think that all these characters are going to finish in like these upcoming seasons, or are we talking more for the end of the game? Because I mean, they have not always closed up all their story arcs in the past, but they've definitely been working on these characters since the beginning of D1, very loosely. But we've seen over time that slowly they'll reintroduce someone, we'll get more information, and I think they have kind of not necessarily written off, but closed some of the story arcs. You know, we have the Dwindler's Ridge saga that was such a big thing for so long.
Yeah.
I
personally feel that we are in a spot where we could leave those old characters behind, and that story could be done because they've kind of, you know, passed the reins on to us as that new guardian. So I think part of what they could do is, I guess a little bit of Mrs. Hyven was saying, is just kind of take a certain arc and maybe just not necessarily complete it, but put it to a spot where like the community's happy with it, and maybe introduce new characters. Or honestly, I don't know how many new characters they can really introduce, depending on how long they plan on keeping, you know, Destiny running. If we're only hitting a Destiny 3, are we stopping at that original 10-year mark? So yeah, I'd be curious to see if we're going to get
I
new
think
characters.
that's the wild card, really, is like them being independent from a
Yeah, that's
publisher.
true. They don't have a timeline
Is
anymore,
like,
really.
Well,
you imagine signing a contract with a 10-year deal, you would want your narrative team to be like, dude, don't wrap this shit up. We got to make this run for 10 years. Like,
we gotta keep going.
keep this
Yeah,
open-ended
yeah.
where we can have lots of room to
Yeah.
play, lots of room to explore,
They still
lots
got
of
a little
options
while,
for our
10 years.
devs. Yeah, so it's interesting
Well,
if they,
we're
you know,
already
if they do want to put a bow on it, or if they want to keep it going. What's that?
we're already at year 9 of
Yeah,
that
no.
10-year deal. So I mean, if that's what if you're trying to say, like they're gonna actually end it at the end of year 10, that's next year. Like that's not even D3, that's next year, and I don't think that's further into the future. So
No, I just mean, if you look at like the track record with Halo and other things, I think there were other factors that may have impacted it. It'll be interesting with Bungie having control over Destiny, where they take it. That's the only real point I want to make there.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel as though the whole 10-year thing was really, it's more of a contract
yeah,
situation.
it
I
was.
don't think
Yeah.
it's something we should read into from things have changed so much.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's their timeline now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying that to agree with you, really, that like Bungie's in such a different position than it was at that point. And even with reference to Halo, you know, they did hand off the reins to another company, but part of that was I was less familiar with Bungie at that time, but you know that part of that was related to the situation with Microsoft, and so there were things happening at that point that kind of influenced that decision from a business perspective that I don't think is as likely to influence Bungie at this point.
You know, something that always comes to my mind is the last thing I was able to take part in was the Halo Outpost. And I was able to sit down and listen to Luke Easterling and Frank O'Connor, who are now, you know, the integral parts of Halo lore, and watch them talk about the old days in Bungie Studios and how the team used to write and how they still write today. And it's very much what we kind of make happen in Destiny's community. When there's a question or people are interested in a particular story in the lore, or when something creates enough buzz, the writers feel compelled to give you an answer. So one of the things that they said is somebody asked a question. It was kind of vague. It was basically how did you come to define a lot of the things that were in Halo after so many years? And Luke basically answered, and so did Frank. They said, well, people would come up to us and say, hey, we don't have a reason for this thing existing in game, or this person, and we were just curious, why is it there? And then we're like, well, we never defined it, so let's come up with a reason, you know. And that's basically what's been happening. So when the community finds a little mystery in the game, or finds an unanswered question, or a little conundrum, the writers felt compelled to give us that answer. So I think it's like rose and thorn, you know, thorn in Last Word. That was a huge mystery in all of D1, and so now we have this beautiful story to go with it, and that's because of us.
Yeah, that definitely happened with Jaron Ward and the whole ghost thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was you guys that told me that, or if that was what I was told somewhere else. But do you know about the Jaron Ward ghost thing?
Mm-mm.
From the impact? Like, maybe I was told when I was at Bungie. I think it's right to say, but essentially, when that original story was written, I don't think Jaron was meant to be a guardian. The whole like ghost sitting next to him was not meant to indicate that he had taken it on. But the community had grabbed hold of that idea so much as that's sort of why it developed in that direction, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that, you know, sometimes people
Oh.
I've heard people give Bungie like a hard time, basically that just the community basically like writes the story because we've developed it. But I honestly think it would be foolish to not take apart from the the tons of different voices who are throwing out theories and ideas. And I think it's also why Destiny started out with such a bit of a loose story, and why we're getting a little bit finer detail. I think it's made for a better story in a way, because it has given the opportunity for speculation in the community, and then maybe they take a little of that speculation and fine it down to a point. But I think it's been beneficial in the long run. I mean, it took a little while, but D2, the consistent lore books that they're popping out every season are very impressive. And I think it's definitely a great accomplishment, regardless of if they had this plan set out for their 10-year story from the beginning. I think at this point, they're hiring new, narrative individuals, different points. I think they're really working to continue on.
Yeah.
And
I think one of the
and even more than that, I mean, it's a partnership. I mean, Bungie's writing it, but we're the consumers. So Bungie has to, like, they don't have to make the consumers happy, but that's the best way to get us to consume their product.
Also gets everyone engaged in the story more if we feel like we all have a part in figuring it out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and don't mistake, what I said or what I was pointing to as Bungie didn't ever have a story. I mean, they obviously have a story. It's buttoned, kept under wraps. I mean, it's not easily shareable. They have a really good idea of what the whole entire universe is about and what it's going to tell us. It's just over the years, there's so many cool little things that popped up that we were a part of. And I think somebody in the early years when Destiny 1 was out and people were complaining about there's no story. And people were like, well, have you read the Grimoire? Do you know what that is? Or do you even know what's happening outside? I remember running a raid and one kid was like, what are these Gorgons for? And I told him, I said, hey, that thing right there can think you out of existence. And he was like, what? How do you know that? Well, it's in the lore. What? This game has a story?
Right.
Well, I think also Bungie's not limited to not creating new characters. I mean, we saw that with the Drifter when Forsaken came out, and he's now played such a big part in the story that they can just create more characters and keep the story going. They're not limited to just talking about like Xivu Arath and all those like other characters that we're waiting for an end to.
One thing I'd be interested.
Story is infinite, essentially.
I was just gonna say I'd be interested. Not that it was exactly this way, but Destiny 1 for the beginning, it kind of led up to Oryx. I think that we might be finishing off a little bit of the Savathun saga with the end of this whole thing.
God,
And I hope maybe Xivu will be introduced in the next bit. So I just find that interesting, quite possibly that we have the three siblings. It might be interesting to see them broke up into their own individual sagas. Granted, the introduction of the pyramid ships and unveiling kind of throws a little complication into the whole thing, but I kind of hope that Savathun's story maybe doesn't wrap up, but we get some type of confrontation because it's been going for a while. I think they really
I think they need some. I think they need some big narrative arcs closing because they've had the small stuff in the background with maybe the lore nerds have sort of been digging through and stuff have been closed there, but something like The Curse in the Dreaming City and Savathun and Resolve, I think it'd be great to have one of them wrapped up in some way, or at least some more information about it in game.
I do feel like that
because Shiraido's got to come back and they've got to fall back in love after the pyramid ships. She can't be
banging
wrapped up.
Shax right now,
but only because Shur is trapped by the 9. Don't even get me
we just
started
talked about some foreshadowing of her coming back possibly, but
They need to live happily ever after, okay? And there's
Yeah, well, just
foreshadowing
like-
that doesn't happen until after Mara standing on some black triangles, aka
in her vision,
the pyramid
correct?
ship.
Yes, this is true. But
I feel very strongly
I do
about
feel
this.
like they're moving the story forward, but a little at a time. I think, like you said, the 10-year plan was originally a plan to sort of wrap up the whole Destiny main storyline, but they had to split it up now, and they're gonna start. I hope they are, like you said, Savathun, right? We want some kind of conclusion for that, but it also plays into this bigger arc. So they can't. I don't think they can individually just take one, end it, one, end it, one, end it. I think we're going to move towards some kind of major point in the story where everything just collapses on itself. It's a big fight, but they can still take those, like you said, the things we lore nerds love to talk about. They can sort of close that little parts out and then just move towards a big clash between the light and dark.
Convergence.
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't think the 10-year plan was for the story. I think it was just a contract.
Yeah,
Like,
I always
think they
thought of
can
it
have
as more
an
like you're
infinite
signed
plan.
on
They
10
don't have
years.
to commit it to 10
if we're
years. I
still
thought it was
making money,
just
we'll-
monetary agreement. I mean, now it's null and void anyway because they're no longer with Activision, so they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, that was my main point with bringing up the 10-year contract is they can do whatever they want. And I think they're not obliged to continue Destiny. So I'm sort of interested in knowing, are they going to wrap it up, or is this going to be because we know they're working on other IPs, right? So you would probably imagine that eventually they're going to move away to probably a maintenance crew on Destiny with smaller updates, or is it going to be like that with just small season updates? Or are they going to have enough revenue being a self-publisher to, have another whole building dedicated for whoever's developing the new IP?
Right.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to grow.
Or you get like an Epic Games scenario where something, Epic Games had Fortnite and just fucking destroyed all the other games. Like Paragon just went under. Like they just moved all their resources to, what was, hot at the time.
Most money.
Yeah. Be interesting.
I think that just depends on how successful whatever this new game turns out to be. At the moment, they said that they were going to have 2 separate teams, but I almost feel like they have enough in their hands just with Destiny. They are still a fairly small studio if we're talking about AAA studios compared to some of the massive.
They're
they're pretty big now. They're like 800 or something.
That's pretty big studio.
that's pretty
BioWare's
good
a lot
then.
smaller than that.
Yeah, they've come a long way.
Yeah, they had to rent when I went there for the. I don't know what I was there for. It would have been playing one of the releases. I was like, it wasn't the summit because it was sooner than that.
More current time.
They had. Oh no, it was for the anthology stuff. I went over for the product stuff. They had to like rent a whole new building. Again, it was nuts, man. It's like, oh, this is the primary building and this is like secondary building.
That's good.
We have like floors 10 to 20, and this is like the products teams on this floor. It's pretty nutty. Like there's a lot of people there.
So you got Bungie Prime and Bungie Annex. Okay.
I think we've killed this question, guys.
Yes, I think.
What was the question?
Yeah,
Question
I think
was-
we should move on to the next one.
No, wait. What was the score for the question?
The score for the
Uh,
question we just
24.
answered, or the score for the next
Yeah.
question? Let's go on to the next
welcome-
question.
Welcome to the quarterly lore review, where the points are made up and the scores don't matter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like when the next one's even, so you
Except
gotta
the
read
score is the only thing that matters,
The-
apparently.
how dare you? The scores are the most important thing.
Yeah.
They need to be higher though, Baxter, next time. You need to tweak the algorithm. So
Yeah, can
they're
you just
easy.
double everything?
I want every
Yeah,
score
exactly.
over 100 next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Everyone's vote is 100%.
How
Okay.
does a question with more votes have a lower score?
Because
Could you
he's
repeat the
rigging
question
the
in AnonPig?
votes.
Weighted votes. For people who voted less, he gave them more
Yes,
power.
exactly.
All right.
If you only vote for one thing, that vote counts for more than if you voted for everything.
Okay.
If you vote for everything, you might as well vote for nothing.
Let's just get to the next question because
Well,
I
I
spent like
voted
10
for
minutes
nothing.
looking for an
I
answer.
voted for one thing and it still didn't count because of this new freaking system.
No, it's look, it's
No,
the
it
fourth,
did because
it's
it's
the
the
fourth
fourth
thing on
one
the
there.
list,
2 votes.
even though it's
instead
only
of
got 2
4.
votes.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that is evidence that the
I'm
algorithm
angry about
works.
this, but I gotta go clean my carpet because I spilled a drink. I'll be
Oh
right back.
no!
Oh no.
Isn't this the
Well,
question you
probably-
wanted?
Yeah, while you're cleaning your carpet, we'll
Wait, I
go
thought mine
through your
was
favorite
next.
question.
Not next.
No, yeah, we're gonna skip
No,
down to
this
your question and
one's-
pass over it real quick. So
Oh, that's horrible, guys.
Jerk faces. All of you.
Jerk
So
faces.
the next
She
question.
comes back.
No, we won't skip to your favorite question. We're going to the next one, which is from Bright Lady Lise. Or maybe it's pronounced Lisa. I don't know. And it has a score of exactly 80. Wow.
Wow. But only 4 votes.
Yeah.
That's so impressive.
Okay.
How does the city reckon years? Are they still using BCE and CE, or is something else their year 0?
They use numbers.
I would think the collapse would be year 0.
So
Or is
I
there a
actually
timeline? It's a trick question.
Isn't
I
there a
actually
clock
spent like
somewhere?
the whole of the last question after I said that one thing trying to find an old post that I read, and I've just always believed in that. On Titan marks, repeatedly you can find Roman numerals XXVIII 28 VII LXI 761. And so that has always been my theory for how they track time, and they track time. They made a 0 point when they made the city, and the date on Titan marks is 6 fronts. So 61 years into the city, the Fallen came and attacked, and that's why it's such an important date that it's always being recognized on Titan marks like that. So what would that be? July 7th, 61.
Yeah,
Is,
we did this a long time ago, and didn't we, on Twitter?
Mhm. Yeah, I think
were
I think we've talked about this as well. Because this is just like a really old thing
really
that
old,
I've been a fan of the theory since like D1, and
Yeah.
whenever I see that question, I always get excited about that.
Yeah, so there's a Titan mark, and it talks or it for all of D1, we didn't have a clue what the Roman numerals stood for. And then when wasn't it Warmind came out, and the Clovis Bray, some of the Clovis Bray lore came out, and then people were going back to that question of what did the numerals mean, and then we kind of figured out a little bit that must have been a nod to 6 fronts, and then the dates, because there was some sort of a wall in, what was it, on Mars, in one of the Clovis Bray facilities that showed the EXO program and some
the
ominous numbers
exoscience
that we were
program.
trying to.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was the years, and we were trying to understand a little bit of that timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's they're definitely doing it in years and portraying it in Roman numerals. But yeah,
I think the other thing too is
I
that
don't know why
they
they'd go to use like the worst form of number keeping. Roman numerals are stupid.
the
But
other
it
thing
looks
that they
cool.
do
It
is
looks cool.
they measure things in ages as well, which is something that
Right.
you'll notice with the naming convention of like the Age of Triumph, the Age of, City Age, the Dark Age, all that stuff is another way that they keep kind of a larger chunk of time, if not like numerically accurate, but it's like, this is during the Dark
Well, I
Age,
mean-
this is during the City Age, all that.
America does that too.
Oh yeah. No. I mean, I'm just saying that's
Science
that was,
Yeah.
something that's very, because science does it with eras, like, they have different chunks of time that are deemed a certain era, and that's an easier way to reference, oh, this happened during X era.
Yeah, but you also have like the Bronze Age and stuff like that for
The Gilded
archaeology too.
Age.
Yeah.
The Golden Age in Destiny was absolutely the Gilded Age.
Yeah.
definitely.
Too much messed up
Absolutely.
stuff happening.
Mhm.
That was not
Oh,
a good
yeah.
period for humanity.
Nope. I think I
She's
answered
back,
the
so we can
question.
move to the next question, right? Isn't that how this
can,
works?
yep.
We can. Are we
What's
satisfied
the
with our answer
verdict
for that
of
question?
chickens
Exactly how this
born
works.
from guardians? Oh, children.
children.
Wait, no, we have to announce the score first.
We have to announce the score.
Come
Man, I
on.
really need
Okay,
glasses.
so
Wait, can we go back in the chat? Someone commented.
Yep,
what
yeah.
Bungie
I'm already
number.
scrolling up to get it. I'm already.
That's the most important thing I just saw, guys.
What's that?
Titans
What
have
was that?
butt calendars.
Oh no, I was good for
I
the
got
Polaris,
you,
next
bro.
red
question.
eyes.
And also Titans are clocks.
Titans are clocks, and they have butt calendars.
It's just a calendar of butt towels.
Guys, we've solved Destiny. We can all go home now.
That's a gross image to think about. butt calendars. I don't know about you guys, but my girlfriend, you know, she X's off each day as it goes by.
And Titans are also kind of immortal. So think of how many
Kind
X's
of.
they'd have.
Kind of.
I said kind of. What if they choked on a crayon?
Oh my god.
Sorry.
No, you're not.
Nope. Incorrect.
And on that note, I think we should
Yep.
go to the next question.
Don't forget to announce that score, though.
Yes, the next question
Chickens.
with a score of 64.29 is from Quasar Cinema in brackets Mace.
Those are parentheses.
Yeah, those are in brackets.
They're whatever he wants them to be, guys.
You can change it.
I love it.
Right,
Baxter's camera just blinks out. She's just done.
It can sense my rage.
Oh
no!
What is happening?
Somebody did something. What did you do? Oh my god! People are breaking my spreadsheet. Okay. The question is, what's the verdict on children born from guardians? Can they procreate? Is there any law to back that up?
So there's an answer in the chat, and Orchid, I thought you were talking about this one, but it's like way back at the beginning. It's okay. So if a guardian male and guardian female love each other so much, they take off their clothes and wrestle each other, and then sometimes later comes a baby. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Answer done. Moving to the next question. Let's go.
I do think we got information about this with Jaron Ward, with him being revived as a or the
Shin.
Oh, I guess it hasn't really confirmed it. Shin, the kid being revived as a child and potentially growing up, because then that would show that you could age if you had been impacted by the light. And I guess if someone can age, that's going to impact reproduction.
Mm-hmm.
But that would
whereas
only
if you're
be for,
immortal,
like,
but I mean, I guess
my biggest question to this, and this is why I voted on it, because I wanted, not because I had answers for it, but because I wanted to know answers for it. So probably not the best reason to vote. But also, like, if two guardians had a baby, would that also then be like, because guardian isn't in their genes, so are they just making a human?
I think if two guardians have a baby, it would only be a guardian if the two ghosts also had a baby.
Yeah, exactly. You need the ghost baby.
That's exactly what
my brain hurts so much from that
The odds
answer.
of that are astronomical, though.
Can you
It's never
even
gonna happen.
imagine two ghosts
Exactly.
having a baby?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to
Like,
rule
they
34
just,
this,
like,
okay?
twist around each other until like some of their spikes
Baxter,
went to the other one.
I think
They
everyone
just
just
wake
needs
up
to
like an
realize
old
that
Game Boy
Baxter just
connecting cable
Rule
trade.
34 ghosts.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. I don't want to look at Rule
I think
34
Black
because there's
Flag
going to
said it
be
perfectly.
dicks
Ghosts are
involved.
probably asexual. They just pop out another ghost, kind of like the Traveler did.
Have you seen the film
Their
Batteries Not
numbers are
Included?
doing it.
No,
Maybe ghosts are like the dinosaurs from Jurassic Park.
oh god.
they rampage around going.
Yeah.
Light will find a way.
inaccurate.
Light will find a way.
We have to extract their
Ishtar's
DNA
next
from
shirt
Amber
right
before
there.
you can make another ghost.
You know, there is some Jurassic Park lore in the armory. Just a little
Go on.
nugget.
What? Say more?
Yeah,
Oh,
please
what,
tell us about that.
Lord Tyrannus Hammond.
Yeah, you found it.
Yeah.
Oh
That
yeah,
was great.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I like Jurassic Park. The books and the movies, but the books.
The books are amazing.
Hamalco.
Yeah.
Hamalco. That was crazy.
Oh yeah, Dr. Ian Malcolm. Good times.
I think
Good
we'd have to
times.
say we don't really have any
Um,
lore.
I don't
That
I don't
procreation
believe.
is a thing.
Yeah, I don't believe that a guardian can procreate personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think that it would.
Why do you think their reproduction would be impacted by being revived?
I mean, just because it's a trope, basically.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Liches
usually the thing.
Because the
liches
thing
can't
is, like,
reproduce.
Yeah, it's
Because
just like a
when-
very common standard for like, here's your immense power. Also, no more kids.
Yeah.
yeah. I get,
Yeah.
Negative.
Well, I mean,
Because
technically they're dead.
when
right?
No,
well, no,
I
well, when
disagree extremely there.
yeah.
Undead.
Wouldn't
Because
it have-
when the
wouldn't it
have-
speaker
No.
sees them revive, like the muscle, he describes like muscle being regrown on bone and all this kind of stuff. So it very much seems like your cells are reproduced.
Guardians are not dead
just
or undead.
simulated. Like,
They are reliving.
They're
Yeah, they're liches.
But
just
No.
rehydrate.
I
But now-
disprove that.
No.
Okay, so
Free
to
Shrek
go off-
Guardians, you just add water.
Sperm come back.
So to go off of what you were saying, Mylan, like what? All right, I'm trying to form this. So this happens a lot. So what if? Because like we know that when ghosts revive guardians, they have their memories from their past life just like left behind. What if their reproductive system is also impacted in that way?
yeah, I reckon you
Their
could argue that they
Reproductive
could
system forgot how to do it.
Well,
What?
see, I've always thought I think we
Oh,
discussed
they
it a
don't
little bit
know
on
how to
our
do it.
on
Guys
Felicity
would
and
never
Elemis
forget
did
how to do it.
on one
Well,
of the earlier.
So it would be
Well,
more
what
of
the
like
hell
the
is
ghost
this?
dictating or the traveler
yeah,
dictating
what's
what
restored.
is-
What's restored.
Dictating.
I would think that my
just-
only explanation for it would be they're being restored to be sorry, hun. It's just life. I cut you off all the time. My bad. Is that they're being restored basically to be kind of like
They're
war-ish
reproductive.
machines.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So therefore, it would not be in the traveler's best interest to make that system work.
Hmm.
Yes, and so
But wouldn't
we
it be in the
discussed-
traveler's best interest to have more guardians?
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah,
because
that-
the
we
guardian
discussed
is
good.
not
that
in their
how-
genes. It's not in their DNA. It's
Do we?
I
No,
don't-
no, but that would be
So-
that would be imbued with the light, which I think
Okay.
you would need.
I would
Okay.
if
say
the
that
two
it's
guardians
not
had a
their
baby, would
reproductive
automatically be
system.
a guardian.
I
No,
actually
no.
want to ask that of
No.
everyone. Assume let's just
Okay.
assume that guardians can have a child, right? Is that
Okay.
child a guardian? Yes or no?
No, not until it gets
No.
to go.
I don't
No.
think so.
No.
But I do
everyone's
think
agreeing
they
with
have
It has a higher
different
amount of
I-
light.
Yes,
Maybe.
because if you look at how ghosts choose guardians, there is something that they scan and they detect. And I think that is leftover remnants from the golden age that impacted humanity and did
Mhm.
something. Everyone was living triple lifespans and all this kind of stuff. And I think there was an impact of the traveler being close to humanity that had something to do with the light. And that's what ghosts pick up on. And that's why Shin inherited another ghost, because he was revived as a kid and still had light. He didn't die again, but he still had that ability, which is why that ghost was attracted to him. And I think if you had two guardians that have a lot of light, you're going to have a little light.
Sensible chuckle.
Yeah.
And I
Nice.
think this
Nice.
is. I think this is a sensible. I think this is a sensible question. Do we have anywhere in the lore that points to a pregnant anything? I mean, do we have
No.
a human
No.
No.
or anyone or
But I
awoken
think the fact
having?
that they
But not even pregnant.
act to procreate would
So
lead me to
it
believe
could
that there's
just
a
be
chance that
test
they
tube
could.
babies, or it could just be
Yeah,
grown
no,
in a.
You're talking about
There
the
were- there were-
process that pregnancies happen at this point. in time.
So procreation, maybe. I mean, I'm just assuming that we
Not
don't
the
know really
old-fashioned way.
anything about it. But
I'm-
as far as the golden age goes, how do we even know that that was a
How
necessary
they were
step
having
to
them.
to make more
Yeah.
humans?
Because the Wokens were having.
I love.
babies.
I just want to say, I really
Yeah.
The
love
Woken
that
aren't
Rhino.
guardians, though.
I love that Rhino said, I presume none of us know anything about procreation. Thanks, Rhino.
all celibate here.
Yeah,
We
Mr.
don't have
I
any-
approve
we
of
know
my
that the
own
Awoken were reproducing with technology just to speed up the process, but whether that was necessary versus it was just because they didn't have
I mean, do we know
any
that?
males.
Do
But
we know that there was a sterile environment before the collapse? Do we know that humans didn't naturally come to a point where they decided that it was no longer necessary to repopulate this way? You know,
Well,
I mean,
we know
But
that that's
Do you
not
think
entirely
humans
true
would
because
ever take-
Adeline,
Hmm.
What?
she was
Adelaide?
She was
Adelaide.
Adelaide. Thanks. Yeah. Adelaide.
Adrenaline.
She was somebody's daughter right around the clock. You're laughing at me for getting it wrong. Don't laugh at me. I tried.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
would
have any
say
proof
that
of a
they're-
guardian having a kid, but we
Yeah.
do actually have. There's a obscure reference that there are sections of the city where guardians and humans kind of live together.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Mhm.
Mhm.
if guardians can't have kids, they're probably having kids. We just haven't seen it.
That's true.
I mean,
Well,
if you
and
say now
that begs the
they're
question:
not-
can a guardian have a kid with a non-guardian?
I don't think they can have a kid at all, personally.
Right.
That's the thing.
See, I think to answer to kind of go back to what Rhino was saying about how do we know that things aren't totally different. My own way of answering that is to kind of think, well, if we haven't been told otherwise, I think it's reasonable to presume that things were the same as they are now. So we haven't been told, all of the things that we're told through the storytelling in Destiny are about how this world is different to the world in which we live. And there's no evidence to suggest that things work differently in terms of reproduction in the last city. And I think that we know that the last city has been around now for like over 100 years. I don't know exactly. Timelines are complicated, and there's evidence that children are still being born in the city. The city is still populated.
Well, and you
But
have
there's
the
no
reference
evidence.
to Earthborn, Awoken, and Reefborn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know that
Um,
non-guardian species are able to procreate. I mean, there's the whole thing with, wasn't Truth the whole thing about us stealing the rocket launcher from the baby Fallen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those are
and my thing,
aliens.
like, is
Right, but I
I
mean, but my
think
point
that
is
they
that
aren't-
there is procreation still occurring in the universe. It's not that it got put on hold.
Right.
And my
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
is
It's
that
like,
they
Matt,
aren't
pause that
two
button right
babies.
here real quick.
I think one of the one of the more interesting questions that that's coming to mind out of all of this is how much awoken are you if you were born after the fact? You mean, so awoken were made from the schism of light and dark when the collapse happened.
But that's
so now we know that there are earthborn awoken, and then
Right.
they're
because that's the argument about the
regular awoken.
Earthborn, right? Is that are they? I mean, I kind of see the sense of, going back to the old trope of awoken as elves. They kind of look down on the Earthborn awoken as half elves, if you would. I mean, if you're gonna follow that trope to its logical conclusion, that's a very common thing as well.
Would
Right.
the awoken born out of the distributary still have really long lifespans? Is that a factor of their
Well, and
race,
I think
or
that
are the
depends
ones
on.
that-
You also have to question, like going back to the awoken human. Is an awoken that was born out of is that even a possibility? That opens a lot of things. Yeah, Lon Wobo was the awoken kid in the dodgeball game.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody
So
references.
I
the
guess what
kids
we're
from-
saying is we don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
And we all have different opinions on it.
I do think that we would have. My opinion is, and I know it's still just an opinion, but it's that we would have seen it by now, right? Like if it's been over 100 years since the last city was created, more than that probably, and there's no evidence that a guardian, like two guardian parents ever had a child, or that one guardian and one non-guardian had a child.
Yeah.
There's no stories about any of them. So given that, is it not
I just think that's a good point. But I also think they probably just don't want to go near that topic either. So
perhaps.
But
not
I do
exactly
agree with grand scheme
Baxter.
of the stories they need to cover, that might not be their priority.
Maybe.
But like
But
it could
still,
be
the
just
only
a
evidence
single.
I mean, if Mara
throwaway-
comes,
like
if Mara comes back pregnant,
no.
then we'll know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We got Mara and Shax possibly, so.
Oh man.
I'm not a
mean,
fan
what-
of the Mara Shacks at all.
Me neither.
Oh, have some fun every now and then, and on Pig.
Rated T for teen.
I have fun.
Exactly, that's true. That's true.
It doesn't mean that everyone has to be mutually exclusive, I mean, people could just consort with whoever they'd like at any point they'd like.
Yeah.
Are we still talking about the game?
It was ambiguous intentionally ambiguous.
Somebody in chat said Mara ain't carrying no babies. She'll just will her kid into existence.
It'll come out of her head.
Oh God.
That's not how that works.
Let's go, Athena.
It's happened in several mythologies.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Adventure
want that.
Time.
Adventure
Can you
Time.
imagine, like, just
That's totally the first
coming
mythology
out?
that I went to was Adventure Time.
Oh
Her
yeah.
face opens like a face hugger and it just like crawls out.
Oh.
Don't want it. No. Can we move on?
I think we've covered this topic more.
Yeah,
than
sure.
I
I'd just
thought.
like to quickly plug one thing since Matt got to plug something. When the podcast that I'm on with Rhino and Baxter here, we had John Goff on, and I explained, talking about the Confessions of Hope baby, I explained how I consider Guardians reliving, not undead or liches, because that's stupid. He
Wow.
he liked it.
Fighting
It's the
word.
same thing.
He liked it.
It's not the same thing.
It's totally the
He
same
did
thing.
like it.
It's entirely different.
They have phylacteries. That's what the ghosts are.
Now that's more like
We've
orcs.
That's
we
like
have
His death
Dragon
somewhere
Age?
placed
else.
a checklist down of what
I have a
lich is.
controller.
What?
I
Well,
have a
that okay,
controller for
Rhino.
my
Don't
list.
start that one. Don't start down that path. Like that starts breaking people's heads. Is what that one does.
I've
Even
had
though I-
Halo
even though I
on
kind of
flat
agree with
screen
it.
TV.
Even
I've
though I
seen
kind of-
darkness.
first.
Hmm?
It's not fair.
What?
Pins is first in chat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I get it.
that's fair.
Why?
Yes.
Oh, why is he first?
Next
Okay,
question.
let's
Shall
go
we go
to
to the next question?
I think
Yeah.
I
What's the
think
score?
for all of our sanity, we should.
Okay, let's do it. So
Ooh.
the next question with a score at 61.67. Oh, somebody did something again. There we go. Why did we...
Oh, no.
You know what? Okay, hang on.
Control A, delete.
Right. I've locked it. Everything's
I've
locked
locked
now. Nobody can change anything.
No more random voting.
Guys, I think we just all got in trouble.
Right. Oh my god.
I think we're in a timeout now.
Yeah. When you can't play with
So-
the
Check out
toys
my score.
nicely.
So, next
Boo.
question is from Samuel. Where do you think Uldren is going to fit into the overarching story of Destiny and the Vanguard?
I don't even see this question. Where are you looking?
It's
Row
on the,
six.
the next sheet. Top questions. Are you on the right sheet?
Oh, I guess not.
Hello.
Wow.
You still on form 1, just scrolling back up and down trying to find.
Yeah, I was just looking for. I was looking for Samuel
We all did
because I like to
last
read
time, and
it.
Baxter was like, "I have this awesome sheet. Why aren't you looking at it?" And we were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense."
Yeah.
There
Tried
it
to
is.
remember how things
That.
worked. Time.
That's
I
why you
think
get
the
so
little,
pissed when I
I
start
have
clicking
opinions
random
about
things.
Aldrin. I have like true opinions.
I think the
Like,
little lore entry about Aldrin,
That made
like
me so
having
sad.
to hide and
On
you
his
know cover
birthday.
his face,
Entry.
is like an example of how you can close and yet not close the storyline. Like you could leave it there and just say he's in hiding and he doesn't know everyone hates him. But if you wanted to revisit it, you could. So actually, I don't know if they're. I don't really know if they're going to bring Aldrin back.
But I
want
mean-
to see him back.
But that's also a
feel like
common.
they're
More of an
probably going
introduction
to.
him as a guardian now. But I do
Yeah.
like
My
your thought
thought
that you left that they
is-
left that open ended for a good reason.
But that's also a common
Similarly, in
thing with
that
Bungie is to
same
leave things
vision-
open ended. Is
Yeah,
because
just
they
give
did the
us a
same
little
thing.
bit
They
to
did
hold
the
us
same
over
thing
for a
with
little while.
Dwindler's Ridge and Shin.
They
Mhm.
planted a seed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
little bits here and there.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, and slowly grows. And I feel like that is Aldrin. We had the cutscene of him dying. Now we get a little bit of him being back alive as a guardian.
And
And
then
I
we're
think
gonna
that's
get him
kind
as
of
a
their way of
speaker.
holding
Yes,
us
of
over,
course.
maybe for another season or so.
What were you saying?
My
The
thought
next-
is
Say that louder and
eventually
non-pick because I
they'll-
feel like it got
Aldrin's gonna
lost.
be the speaker.
Oh
Yes.
God.
Nope.
Yes.
My
I
thought is
don't
that
agree, but I do think
they-
it's a great. I think it's a great theory.
I agree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're likely
What
to be
was
the
that?
speaker
Definitely.
before Aldrin.
Just
We
say
at
it.
least see visions.
Just say
Hey,
it.
Anon, can you please write my YouTube titles because I think that shit would get so many clicks.
Oh my god.
I'll do
Don't
it for
offer
free.
that. Don't offer that.
Oh.
Shax has a big.
Horn. Yeah.
Click to find more.
Otherwise, maybe when Mara comes back, I think that would be a cool encounter.
actually,
Okay, no. So
Can-
my
can
thought.
I-
Hold on. I'm
can-
gonna say it. Gosh dang it! I'm gonna say it.
I haven't
Say it.
talked.
Ricky keeps telling me to say it, and I'm
God.
gonna say it.
Just say it.
Say it.
My thought. Isn't that same? Now I feel like there's been so much. Anyways,
This better be good now. You hyped
in
it up.
the vision where Mara is on the black triangles in the
Pyramid.
dream that Sure had,
Yes.
Sure specifically says one of the other things that she mentions is that Aldrin was there.
Mhm.
So he's if this thing is eventually going to come to fruition, because this is potentially the vision that leads to Sure eventually coming out from the 9 and da-da-da. Aldrin is there, so he has to come in at some point during all of the pyramid ships shenanigans.
So when we
Why
see a
do you
return
think
of
that
What?
Aldrin, we're gonna see
justifies
Aldrin.
Sure coming
What I
back?
would like to see
Because
happen.
Sure says
Well, that's just
during
the
that
vision she
vision that
had.
she was
Yeah.
dead.
But
She says
was
something along
almost
the
back.
lines of, I think
Here,
I
I'll
was
find it.
dead. Well, not dead, trapped, but about to find my way out.
Yeah.
She says something
Okay.
along those lines.
Mhm.
We
All
actually
right, yeah,
just
that's
did this in
yeah.
an
Then
episode,
I
that,
can see
so-
that.
I don't know much about lore, but I hang pretty strongly and tightly to the few cards I like.
Was that Sleepless?
I think that's solid.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know.
'Cause,
The
I mean,
thing
I've
I'd
always-
like to
I've
see
always-
out of
found
all of it.
It's the lore tab for Sleepless, the rocket launcher. She basically talks about she wakes up from a dream sitting next to Mara on the bed, and she basically
Yeah, I
starts
remember
with
this
I
one.
was dreaming. She goes on, and I was dead, I think, pretty close to figuring my way out. And
Hmm.
then it goes on to say, she says to Mara, and there was another woman there, and your brother
The
showed up.
exostranger.
So that's kind of the
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had thoughts on who we
No,
thought. Someone said
I-
Exo Stranger. Someone said, what did you say, Elemist? You said
I said
You said
Eris.
Eris,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I thought
Eris.
maybe the Emissary. All people that, but yeah, that is a good point. Her brother is referenced. If this was a vision we got
And
before
he
we
This
says
was a
seen
vision we
Tropia.
got
triangles,
before
so-
Aldrin died. So at the
Yeah.
time, it was just like, oh,
Yeah.
Aldrin's around Mara. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
I think
after he
that's-
died, you know, it led
Yeah,
I
well,
think
he's
that
not
the,
dead
the whole
anymore,
reason
according
that
to
he's a
Anon,
guardian
so.
now.
That
Well,
could
Aldrin
be-
is
that-
dead.
Yeah, I feel bad that
No,
we
he's
keep on
not- he's not
referring to
dead
this
or
guardian
living.
as
He's not
Aldrin.
dead.
No, you said he's
No,
real
no,
Aldrin is
alive.
dead.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
real
Aldrin
Aldrin
living.
is dead.
Oh,
Like,
He's
no,
out there
he's
making
not.
Aldrin babies.
Okay. But the name, like most guardians do not go by the same name. So I'll be very interested to see what he
Well,
like,
some
eventually
do,
goes
if they
by.
have some
Some-
knowledge, and I have a
some
good
do,
feeling people are going to tell
But it's our
Aldrin
understanding
who
that
he was.
Aldrin
I
at
have-
this point doesn't, because he doesn't understand why everybody hates him.
He doesn't yet, but I'm sure someone's going to
Yeah,
tell him. one day.
he's
People
gonna
are gonna
find
call
out
him
because
Aldrin.
some guardian is gonna tell him.
Well,
Like,
sure,
yeah.
but
put
you
two
really
and
think
two-
that
he's not
he'd
an
be like,
idiot.
yeah, let me pick that name back up.
Well, I'm certain Awoken would Prince Aldrin.
He's not stupid
nice
like
to
his
see you
ghost
back
is.
after you killed everyone.
I would
I
expect
mean,
his
he's-
name to be something like cornbread to go with pork.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
really
I
hope
just
so.
love in chat. Aldrin's gonna be there and say it's a
Coleslaw, yeah.
tetrahedron, not a pyramid.
It is a pyramid because that's what it's called.
I'd
Yeah,
really
that's the
like
name they
Aldrin-
gave
Aldrin.
it,
That's
so
kinda-
that's what it's going to be.
The
I'd
end.
like Aldrin to actually come back, learn what happened, and like all the mess that he made, and then have him like nobly sacrifice himself in the end to fix things. Because his
Maybe
sister
to-
sucks.
Yeah,
How does that
something.
something?
that-
Oh,
I
you're
agree
saying
with
like
that.
pyramid ships
That's
or
what I'd
something.
like as a
Like
storyteller.
go out on a high note.
Like I could see him working
Yeah.
alongside us after we shoot him a couple times.
Or just have
Well,
him
I mean,
double
I wouldn't put it
down.
by his sister to use
evil.
this new guardian.
Oh, that's what I
who
totally
he
said.
can
I don't think
manipulate
if she
to
has the opportunity,
possibly-
I don't think she's gonna tell him that they're brother and sister. I think she's just gonna use
No,
this
she's gonna cut
guardian
him
to her
off.
advantage because she's kind of a
I
baby.
mean, she might be able to use
mean,
it
I
in order
love
to
her,
pull him
but
back
she
in.
is.
I mean, as we would assume, he's he's not going to have any memories, so he's not going to have that undying loyalty he used to have to her. But she's very
Brother boners.
manipulative. She could start feeding him
Yeah.
just
Or
enough information.
but see, we talked about
to-
that too. We don't know that he won't have that because he already has that undying loyalty to pulled pork. Because that seems to be a
we
cornerstone.
discussed
Undying loyalty, though.
Strong
Well,
emotion.
Yeah,
possibly
but the
comes back,
things
and
that
memory
seems
is
to be a
tied that.
cornerstone of his personality is it's almost a habitual aspect of his psyche.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think
I
it'd
think
be
that's,
really.
I consider that
Ooh.
different.
Almost.
He's trying to make his ghost happy.
Right,
That's
but
different.
what I'm saying is like if you read that card, it's the same sense of what he was trying to make Mara pay attention to him.
Yeah. Vuru in chat
I don't
mentions
know, I
that
see
Will
that
Aldrin
differently.
still have that connection to Mara, because we had discussed in
All Awoken
there's
do.
lore- Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
exactly.
hum of little
Awoken
starlight.
connection to her in general.
Well,
And
that's what
then
happens
he
when
has
you have a
such a
progenitor of an
strong
entire
tie.
species.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really interesting and ironic for him to get basically the reset button, but then fall back into the same pattern. I think
That's
that would be.
kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope
because
it's not
cool.
what happens though.
the
For him, I hope
tension
it doesn't, but
the tension
The
that's
thing is,
going to
though-
exist between Mara and him because of the guardianship or the guardianhood is going to be really interesting as well.
But that's what I said. Like, I really don't know if Mara's gonna admit to him that they're siblings or any of that, just
I think
because
only if she can use him.
I don't think that role and that position will actually benefit her as much as just using the guardian to assist her. Especially because honestly, I think she was kind of already done with Aldrin by not cluing him into her plan. She had already written him out of like what she was doing.
But it's not going to be hard for Aldrin to run into information about him and Mara together, right? It has to be a
I don't
lot of
think it would
information
be
on them.
difficult. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
would
so
require a
he'll
lot of
probably
silence by
find out in a
everyone.
couple of minutes that he's Aldrin and she's her sister.
That's true. There's got to be some
Well,
way that she
also-
can hush hush everybody else.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, he has the burial shroud that he has. He had like the signet ring that he was buried with. Like there are clues on him that show that
That's
he's
true.
Aldrin
There's no
also.
any-
So it's not like
Yeah.
he can see those things and be like, oh well, I should look into this maybe.
I mean, his position is going to be a lot different from other Guardians because he'll have a buttload of information about himself.
Mhm.
Question is, will he use it? Will he adapt to it? Or will he
Mhm.
really think, oh, wow, I was such a douchebag. I'm going to act differently now.
And
Yeah,
that's
and
what
then
I hope
there's
we
the
do
other-
have
But
him
was
the
he?
other-
Was he a
Yep.
douchebag?
I knew you were going to react to that.
Aldrin.
The other
Aldrin.
problem I see is that we don't know if Mara intentionally left that for for him. We don't know that
fine.
that wasn't
Yeah,
a
to
part of Mara's
manipulate him.
plan all along. Yeah,
It could be.
I
She
didn't
left
catch
him
that.
an entire book. This is what you need to read.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah, just left.
See, I think Aldrin, like, you kind of have to. I know he's never had any love for Guardians, but you have to remember that throughout pretty much all of the Forsaken storyline, he was taken. He was in a pretty. I mean, he was. I mean, he might not have been completely under the influence of any kind of puppet master in the same way as he may have had more control over his actions than your average taken
Thrall or
thrall or
Yeah.
but
He was a little
like
bit
I don't
taken, a
know how
little
afflicted
influenced
he
by
was, yeah.
Nahamkar at the same time. So he was
Yeah.
kind of screwed
Like-
for his own will.
definitely. I mean, he's in a pretty bad state by the end of the Forsaken campaign.
Mhm.
And that's another thing is that whole Ahamkara thing. We don't know if he ultimately didn't make a wish along the way.
Yeah.
He did.
He did.
Well, he wished.
Yeah, he wished
We
to
saw
talk
that
to
he
her.
wished to save the fanatic in the card.
Yep. And
So
now
there's
Fickrell
the,
can't
there's
die.
the
Do you
rub
wish
is what
it?
I'm saying
And
is
then he
how do
brought
we know
Fickrell
that?
back, so he could have
How do
made
we know
up.
that wish wasn't manipulated in some way? So that's
Yeah.
Oh, it was.
I mean, I think that's the way. Yeah, I mean, I guess that the reason that I mention that is that I think that Aldrin was ultimately, he was a hero of the Awoken. He was a devoted brother. He hated Guardians, but
Mhm.
Just a douchebag to us.
unlike Mara, who could see the big picture and understand how Guardians were useful, really, Aldrin was just more honest about it and was like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
we're not going to help you because you're just going to go into the Black Garden and you're just going to mess everything up. And, we don't like you. Go away. Leave us alone. Actually,
Contempt.
I think when you say things like, "Is Uldren going to fall into the same patterns?" You know, if he falls into those same patterns, he will be a hero, in my opinion.
Yeah, because then he'd be a hero for the Guardian side if he falls into that same loyalty pattern.
Oh, you mean?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. But I mean, I think just even in general, you know, he cared deeply about his people.
Until he killed him.
Yeah, I mean, but then, you know, there was a certain point up until Mara.
He was torn for a while.
Until Mara died, Uldren, died. Uldren was like an unbelievable person. Like one of, probably one of the greatest soldiers, or I don't know what the right word is. He was a brilliant member of the Awoken. I don't know. He was great.
Mm-hmm.
So
he was. But the Black Garden like really messed him up though.
Yeah,
when he went into it.
That's true. We talked about. I think that's
how
kind of
much
was like planted the seed for Riven to kind of get a hold of him anyway.
Yeah, like how much influence did that have to like weaken him that Riven could have influenced him from there?
Yeah.
I think he'll be brand new. He currently just doesn't have any baggage. So, as far as part of the question where they talk about how he's going to fit into the Vanguard, I don't think he's going to have.
They say Vanguard?
Yeah,
in the question
it does.
They asked how he fits in the overarching story of Destiny and the Vanguard.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't think he's going to have anything to do with the Vanguard. I don't even know if the Vanguard's going to acknowledge him off the, starting off with.
He's definitely not going to be the Hunter Vanguard.
Yeah, he's not going to be the Hunter.
That's hilarious.
Well, because
also,
because the whole point of the Hunter, like the Vanguard itself, aside from getting missions for other Guardians and all that, it's to mentor the new ones. How can a new Guardian mentor new Guardians?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that also begs the question: do you really need the Vanguard?
No.
Well, the Vanguard might be disestablished
even
by
need
the
them
time
anymore.
he shows up. We don't
Just
even
get rid
know.
of him.
I mean, they've been talking
about that themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do personally, even though no one probably here agrees, personally, I think that there is a chance that Uldren will become the speaker.
I need more explanation.
Yeah, I honestly think we're more likely to become the speaker because we
from the lore book.
From the newest lore book.
Constellations.
We're the only one that is having visions.
No, we're not.
Yeah. Well, we had the last vision.
We are one of many who have had visions.
It's true, but we don't. I guess I should say Uldren, as far as we know, is not one to have received visions yet.
Yeah, but to properly see a speaker's visions, he would need to put on a mask.
Yep.
And so,
earlier ones did.
The mask only amplified it.
Not anymore, anyway. Now that the Traveler's awake.
Yeah.
Shouldn't need the mask.
We got our first vision from the Traveler during the Red War when it was caged.
That's true.
So I mean, and we weren't the only one to get that. Tyra.
Yep.
Tyra Karn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She had that vision as well. I mean, almost knocked over Bonsai. Ikora had visions. Cade had visions. Obviously, Zavala tried to have visions and failed. We aren't the only ones. We're just one of the many. But in the new lore book Constellations, the entry growing, the introduction, the book goes on and it says like, you are the last speaker, blah 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 blah, and then in the entry growing, it's like little intro paragraph. It says, it ends with, and then another star blinks into existence, which is kind of a suggestion that there is a new speaker who just blinked into existence. And the only group of people that I can arguably say blinked into existence were the Awoken when they came out of the distributary.
Yeah, but to challenge that, that's also assuming that stars are speakers.
Yeah.
There's alternative ways of reading that as well. That
terminology follows through from this entry.
Yeah, I think the whole.
Oh no, I know, but I mean, also you can use it as an explanation to why the Traveler departs and arrives at different solar systems. Because we talked about that in the episode that we did a little bit ago. If you look at the stars as actual stars and look at them as basically benchmarks of civilization having reached a certain point to be able to receive the light and the information that the traveler has, then you can see the evolutionary process of different stars kind of evolving to a point of being noticed. And that goes back to the Ares 1 team, where you have the traveler blinking in and out of the system unexplained because it could be visiting.
What I meant to say was that terminology of star it follows through the book, where literally the entry before building, you are the last remaining star. And then in the next entry, and then another star blinks into existence.
Yeah.
So you're the last
so
speaker.
wherever it
Now
was,
there's another one.
It's represented as the speaker. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I
think
necessarily for that. Does growing
To combat
the whole card
that,
take place at the
okay.
same time, or would we say that portion at the front half was not the exact? This front half, some of these cards are broken into two parts.
Yeah, that's
of
the
that
part
card,
that I would
have
say
a bit of
that
the
you get
consensus coming about.
the traveler speaking a bit. The front half
Yeah,
it kind
and
of
that
seems
first
to
part, I would say,
correlate
might
with.
not be the same.
Well, no, but the front the part where the cards are divided into correlates with the parts where we know that the traveler is actually awake, if you will, because at the time that there are no divisions within those cards is during the Dark Ages and during the collapse and during the whole time that the traveler has been put into a slumber. And then it comes back awake once the once the speaker crafts the new mask and it gains his ability to understand, or her ability to hear. That's when that front portion comes back. All hail Matt, who is the center.
But
now I'm not the
than-
center of my screen.
So
Matt started this standing and now he's sitting.
Surprise!
I'm getting
But like, what time is it there, Matt?
So,
It should be,
quarter to 12.
11 o'clock.
Quarter to midnight.
Yeah,
Not too bad.
I'd be
Okay,
sitting
so-
now as well.
to combat what Anon was saying, the growing card actually takes place when the walls have already been built. Didn't the Awoken actually come back into the system when they were just a settlement under the
when they
the
were
traveler? Right. So like I don't know, like I'm trying to fit it all together in the timeline, and it's just
Well, I don't think it's a perfect representation of exact points in time. Personally,
right.
Yeah, that's why I thought the first half necessarily is not chronologically placed with the rest of the card. It's not that star blinked into existence at the exact point, the Vanguard and the consensus is having this meeting.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I feel as though that they do some of the things that is said. I think. Let me find this. One of them. I can't remember now. No, I mean, my impression was that they did happen at the same time. That this was like the point of view of the traveler, and then what else was happening at approximately the same time.
Yeah, I kind of guess just thought of it more as they were the narrator of a story. But I could see that this is almost like the foreword for the the section of the card that they're referring to.
There was one that I thought kind of made it seem like they were happening at the same time, but no.
First one, or
Well, while you look, can I ask Anon, do you mean that the first part talks about like this is sea of thousands that can't hear, they can hear you, there's a little star, they can understand fractions of your words, but they try, and then another star blinks into existence, that there isn't any speaker at that point, the first part, and then another one, and another star blinks into existence, and that would correlate to when Aldrin was reborn as Guardian.
When Aldrin and the rest of the Awoken came from the distributary back to the reef. And I say Aldrin specifically because Aldrin's the type of character where no one is going to forgive him, but he's clearly important to the story. Like, I'm sorry, I actually don't know your name. Was saying about the Sleepless entry before, how Aldrin was going to be there, how Mara was going to be there, how another girl was going to be there. Aldrin needs to be in this moment, and for Aldrin to exist into this moment, to be at this battle, in my opinion, he needs to hide his identity. And what better way than to be the speaker? Yeah, I believe so. Hyven, Mrs. Hyven.
Ivan's
I'm horrible with names. I'm sorry. And
he's just horrible.
I think everybody is.
It's okay. It took me
Be
a
the
second to even
speaker.
realize
You
were
know how
talking about
horrible
me.
you are.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good theory. I think there's a lot of, I know we discussed it a lot on Loose Cannon, or quite a bit anyway. I
And
think
speaking of speakers, do you guys think that the House of Rain were the speakers of the fall?
Yeah.
I feel like
Ooh.
we're really. This is
like that
a
idea.
massive tangent.
I like that idea.
but-
I like that idea.
That's a cool idea.
3 episodes in a row. Let's go.
Yeah, every episode for the last few episodes, Anon
He's
has
brought in House Rain.
he's suggested. So, do you think that House Rain were the speakers of the Fallen?
I mean, I legitimately do think they are, but that was just a joke.
Yeah. Shall we go on to the next question, because we've talked about that
Yes.
one for a little while.
Can I actually interrupt a question since we're kind of talking about Mara?
No. Yes, of course.
This is very structured.
As I'm sure all of you know, Telesto came in Curse of Osiris, and I believe it was Seth who teased it on Twitter, saying
the
no one
Paladin.
found the Easter egg.
Yeah, Orin. Yeah.
Paladin Orin. So there was secret text in Curse of Osiris reading Crow untrustworthy desires power. And then we get Forsaken, where he clears Osiris power, he kills Cade, he does all this stuff, etc., etc. And that's when, and also Curse of Osiris, we had the Telesto ornament. And this was pointed out to, I noticed this from Paul Tassi on Twitter. In Curse of Osiris, the Telesto got an ornament called Reef and Ruins, which is what happened in Forsaken. Then in Warmind, it got Dread from Below, which is Shadowkeep. And now in Season of Dawn, it has Long Live the Queen. And so I'm just kind of interested. I don't think this is going to be next season because these seem to be Comet expansions, so fall. What do you guys think about that?
Well, they did say that all these seasons are leading up to something big, so it could be the reintroduction of Mara coming back in, and
or is it a different queen?
Or the Witch Queen?
Or Savathun could be showing up, and maybe all of the queens.
I would assume more Mara than anything else, because
I think
It
Mara's
is a
going to show up when
classical-
Savathun shows up, and they're going to
Yeah.
either
it is kind of a classic look of like, this is
Bang.
Mara. It's all white and gold and purple.
Mm-hmm.
So
regal.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, Toland always talked about there being, in his analogy, about there being 3 queens.
So
Maybe there'll be 3
Mara,
queens.
Savathun, and RuPaul.
Perhaps.
those are the 3 queens in my life.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Although, I mean,
That's
I am a fan of Shangela.
Who could the other queen be?
Vanjie?
Banshee. Did he
Let's
just
go to the
forget?
next question.
I'm all right with this.
Okay, the next question with a score of
Matt's still
49.29
shocked.
Oh my god.
from Dancing Viru, who is in the stream. He's in the chat.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Bungie attempts to tell a story in a continuous narrative thread since Shadowkeep. Now, with Osiris approaching Rasputin, do you think we'll see a continuity in Rasputin's interest to step through time, given what happened during the current season? Maybe also an elaboration on what it is he was referring to, especially if he meant the pyramids.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. I was like, wait, let me read that again.
It's an
What was it,
interesting thing,
Rasputin?
right?
That's a long
So-
question.
With Osiris approaching Rasputin, do you think we'll
Okay.
see continuity in Rasputin's interest to step through time, given what happened during the current season?
Okay.
I mean, the Sundial will be a
Yes.
perfect tool for Rasputin, right? To
Mhm.
start to go through time.
Perhaps, yeah.
It's
That
gonna
I mean,
also
I don't
be
think
was running up. Maybe Osiris, the it's referring to, and he's talking. Osiris is going to Rasputin because Rasputin's interested in the sundial and messing with the timeline.
could be also an introduction of certain exos that time travel.
Yeah.
Well, that was his original interest, right?
No, but I
Yeah.
mean that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying is
Step
like if
through
we're in a
time.
fixed timeline, then we have the sundial which can time travel, and Rasputin
Oh my God.
has exos.
Mhm.
Connection there being we already have a time traveling exo that is
Yeah.
running around.
Mhm. Can Rasputin like control exos?
That's the
He
idea.
has some. He talks
It
about
has
it.
Can
some. Mhm.
Rasputin just take over
Now,
Saint
that
14
being-
and like go back in the sundial?
Well, that's
He
That's
refers
the-
to some that are not his. So
right.
I
Yeah,
think
I was gonna say there's some, and I would assume that most of the Guardian expos have or exos have expos.
Wouldn't be
Wow.
able to.
Yeah.
The Guardian
And-
exos probably have interference with Rasputin's control mechanisms.
Okay.
You're certainly not mine, although once you must have been.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so if he sends an exo through a sundial, though, that might break a connection too. Which
I wonder
again,
if
you could have a reintroduction of a fan favorite.
I wonder if Rasputin aided the creation of exos, and then Clovis just kind of took them, and that's what he means by that. You must have been.
I always took them
At one
like
point.
this. Kind of goes back to Matt had mentioned like way back before Matt fell asleep with his eyes open. He had mentioned that he's looking at the screen like I don't think he's moved. So, no, there he goes. The idea of like back like way back was that like the exos would be like mobile frames for the Warmind and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And like I can see that being a sense of like that gives him mobility. But I mean, I don't know because we have
I
frames
don't
as
think
well.
so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
I
as
always
though
thought of-
one of the points that's that's repeated a few times is how why are exos so human? You don't need you
Now-
you don't
human in a frame.
if Rasputin's goal is to be able to reach out and go places and do things, that the frames are perfect vessels for that.
Right. And we do have
I-
confirmation in Last Days of Kraken Mare that as far as we know, every exo was human. That was digitally
Thanks for having
uploaded.
me, guys. I gotta go.
All right. Night, Matt.
Bye, Matt.
Sorry to drop.
Night.
Thanks for
Bye.
having me. See ya. Bye bye.
Matt.
Nice meeting you.
Boop, boop.
Whatever.
So like Last Days of Kraken Mare does confirm that at least as far as we know that every single exo was a human being that was digitally uploaded. Now,
Right.
that doesn't disprove another theory that there are multiple versions of the same exo. To kind of go into like digital stacks theories and stuff like that. But the idea that every exo was controlled by Rasputin, I don't know if that's necessarily wrong.
Well, you're mentioning the Last Days on Kraken Mare. We just covered that one too. You know,
Mhm.
those exos worked for Soul Sextant,
Mhm.
which dealt with security, basically working for Rasputin.
Yes.
Could Rasputin not talk about controlling them, but just that
Transhuman
exos
infantry.
originally
Yeah.
worked
Right.
for him, part of that division.
Yeah.
And I think that would bring out that Guardians were basically taken for a different cause, so they did not report to Rasputin in that way. Not that
Right.
necessarily he's taking over them as if he's taking over frames.
Well,
'Cause
and
I
that
never
was
really
a
thought
that
of
was
it
a
that he might
callback.
have been able to take over
Yeah,
frames, but
that was a
we don't have any
callback to the original story where we were supposed to supposedly we were supposed to rescue Rasputin. That was like way
Yeah.
back.
Oh yeah.
But
With the bleeding exo for some reason.
with the
the one
that
that we never
which has like it's one of my favorite concept art pieces, but it makes
beautiful
no
picture, but
sense.
no content.
What happened to you? I just got a cut. It's
damn paper cuts.
Yeah.
Just a hunter knife. That's all.
But I mean,
I don't know.
taking that back though, I mean, if he does stay interested in time travel, which I totally see him not giving up on ideas like that, then you could see that as a potential entry for someone who the community has been somewhat clamoring to see again.
Yeah, Rasputin feels like the biggest gray area, because it almost feels like a lot of his story was like taken from pre-Destiny and changed, and from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 and changed.
Right.
And it's like we don't really know where he's going
Seven
anymore.
Seraphs.
Well, I mean, yeah, the
Like-
Seven
Yeah.
Seraphs are, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's also why they are reintroducing Rasputin in this next season, as far as we know, is because we are unsure what exactly his plans are. And Osiris pretty much just stepped straight in there and said, make a choice. What side are you on? Which is interesting for Rasputin, because if we're talking about like how our Guardian's a gray Guardian, Rasputin lives in the gray.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, he
I
just
don't know that
operates
you
on
can-
he operates on a much larger
yeah,
picture.
completely different code. Yeah.
It's also it's Osiris that wants him to.
Yeah,
take a
yeah,
side.
Yeah,
Osiris
Osiris
hasn't
wants
been
the
like
power.
the most
That's true.
black and white guy ever.
That's true.
Can you imagine if Rasputin was just like, yeah, I'm on your side after that dramatic
Yeah, he was just like, you got
Right.
it. What you need, buddy?
like, chill, I'm on your side. Damn.
Cyrus is like,
Failed
great.
safe.
Here's the gun I brought you as a gift.
I love that he
I'm just
brings a
showing it
gun.
to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Rasputin is
He
gonna
brings
turn
a
into
gun to
failsafe
a
and have
war
split
mind
personalities.
party.
yeah.
Clearly a Valkyrie instead of a gun.
The-
Beard Grizzly was talking about how Rasputin said something back to Osiris. I don't know, like because I'm
everyone
super
said
hard of
donate.
hearing, like I didn't know. So no, that's not what he said. He didn't say donate.
I know. I've seen so many different people throw
Wasn't
something
Beard
different
one
on
of the
that
people who
last
said
word.
all those people telling me donate, and he put up like a gift that was like, "You're not my daddy."
Yeah,
I
he did.
died.
Yeah.
I don't think it was
subscribe
clear
and-
what Rasputin said.
Yeah, but was anyone able to like really tell what he said? If he said anything like
I'm assuming
Some
it was in
people were saying
Russian.
that he said goodbye or dos vidanya, which I don't know. I didn't really hear that, but I'm not a Russian speaker, so what would I know?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything in that.
Yeah, I'm not either.
good. So it wasn't just me that didn't know that he said something.
No.
So it's also everything Rasputin says is Russian in reverse. At least since Destiny 2.
Yeah, it's upside down Russian.
Australian Russian.
Australian Russian. Okay.
So they're trying to confuse us.
They did get like one or two words. I'm not sure if you said that. I was distracted. Did you say that?
Well, I said that some people were saying that he'd said dos vidanya.
That's what we're discussing. Did anyone
that
actually
mean?
get
Did-
anywhere?
It means goodbye in
It
Russian.
means goodbye.
No, well, yeah, but
Oh.
did anyone were they actually able to see that he said that or anything, or did he just
People
like
are going to
make
speculate
Rasputin
anything
sounds?
at this point.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just,
I
People
don't
do
know.
Yeah.
what they want to.
That doesn't
I
make
wouldn't put any
that
merit
doesn't
in
make any
anything
sense.
from that
though.
trailer right off the bat.
No.
Osiris isn't
mean-
the weakest link.
This just reminds me of like the trailer we got for Eris with her like crying eyes and smiling and touching stuff, and we haven't gotten anything from that since.
I mean, I think they're setting up a lot of different points.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rasputin and Osiris will probably be the first one we see in this new season, though.
I agree with you there.
Chat.
So to
What
go
if
on to the
Rasputin didn't
kind of
speak?
the-
It was a disgruntled mumble.
That's what I kind of like, I just woke up. Go
He
away.
just woke up and
Oh,
Cyrus
God.
just like
Not
kicks
you
the
again.
door in, and he's like, "It's
He's like,
time!"
how did you get in here?
Yes, goodbye. Goodbye.
He probably
My
just
locks
said,
aren't good enough.
Start playing Rick Astley or something.
Where's that photo someone put in our chat?
Oh my god, that one was
I'm
hysterical.
gonna find this.
The one that just has gun written on the gun.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I love that. Yeah, it just says gun.
Oh, I loved it.
my
Is that the one you're
favorite.
looking for, hun?
Yeah, I think I sent a link on accident, but it'll take you right to the image.
Yeah. Oh, I
Oh, there
loved
it goes.
that one.
That was
one made me laugh so hard.
someone's thought on what that whole scenario was.
Yeah.
Oh, I got distracted.
I love how it looks like it was drawn with crayons.
Should we,
Did
does
Man at
somebody wanna
Arms draw
put-
this?
I'll put it in the
I
chat.
no, Jen drew it apparently. Because there's a name on it.
Oh.
I don't know.
So-
It's
there
genius
is.
art. I like it.
So the second part of the question was also, do we think there will be any elaboration on what Rasputin was referring to?
Yes.
I don't remember what the context for the it was.
That's
So
the
that was
thing
in
that
Green
burned the
Sentence?
garden.
The gardener
Yeah.
fought it, and it was stronger, and the garden
Oh,
was
okay.
stronger
Yeah.
than me.
That's what it's
etc.
referring to. Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
It
I
says
mean, I
in
can
the
I can
same
see
grimoire, it
that
says-
clarification being given, especially if Rasputin actually responds to Osiris.
The flower
Yeah.
eater, the queen of final shapes, that which also inhabits its petitioners.
Right.
It.
Wow, the flower eater. That's
Yeah.
from like D1
Mhm.
because it's the winnower.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think they're elaborating on everything at this point, and we're getting more of it. So I think it would maybe about time for them to elaborate on that.
Right.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, shall we go on to the next question?
I think
Yep.
so.
Maybe I don't know how much time we have left. What time is it?
11:05.
Is-
11:05.
Technically 2 hours, but
We
also
were gone for
technically
2
like
hours.
1 hour.
Hour and
Okay.
a half.
Let's go on to the next question. So this is another one of the older questions.
Wait, what's the score first?
Yeah.
That is a great question.
Oh God, that's
Thank you, Orchid.
What's
Thank
the
you for
score?
asking.
dropping the ball, man.
This is, you know,
I need the score of
Nice.
the question. Or
with
we
a
can't answer
score of 36.67.
it. Wow.
Yeah, that's yeah. From
Is that rounded
Daika,
up?
I think. It's rounded to 2 decimal places.
Okay.
So
Could you
I'm
please tell
guessing
all
it's.
the decimals in the future reference so we know?
I mean,
down
you know,
to-
hang
Can
on.
you
Let
just
me
put the
just.
infinity symbol there next to it?
3.666666666.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a
Probably,
lot of
but I
sixes
need to
there.
know.
Yeah, there we go.
If we're
That's a bit
using
clear.
decimals, we
Oh,
need
okay.
a lot of
It's
decimals.
a cursed score.
So with 36 and 2/3,
Nice. I like that. Yeah.
has it ever been shown what the traveler looks like from the inside? And if not, do you think we will go there one day?
No.
No and no.
You can actually see inside it a little bit because it's cracked open. So if you look
that
in
truly
game
what's
at the
inside?
tower,
It smells
but that's
vanilla.
what you can see.
Yes.
Yeah, it
That's what you
smells of
can
vanilla,
see.
right?
That's
And there's
all we
Tiger
know
Man.
because that's all you can see. It's
So
just full of
nobody
Peace and
Thank
carrots.
nobody knows what it looks like inside, but we know what it smells like inside.
Yep.
That's right.
Thanks,
Smells like vanilla.
Well, I
Fenchurch.
mean, Venchurch knows how to look.
You know, the most reliable guy ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Where did you get these?
Needless
Go
to
up
say,
there
You don't
and
believe
smell
the
it?
crackpot?
I sent the whole shipment back.
Those idle lines are the best.
You know, there's no word from him today. So.
No.
I
don't know where he
I've
gets
said
this stuff.
before, but my least favorite I know this is maybe more popular of an opinion than it used to be, but my least favorite character since Destiny 1 is Tess Everest. I feel as though I have this weird. This is a random tangent, but I'm gonna go for it anyway. I used to feel like in Destiny 1, there were times when she'd be like, it would be as though she was on the phone and she's like, "Yes, Zavala, that shipment's on the way," and I was just like, "You're not on the phone to Zavala." You just make it up. You're trying to make yourself sound cool.
This is
You
a
don't know
sales
anything.
pitch.
1 second, Baxter. I got a phone call with Osiris.
Evidence that AnonPig is the Tess Everest of the green world.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I don't mean that.
Making money.
I thought,
Right, that's not the worst thing to be, I suppose.
I thought the collective hated person in Destiny was Brother Vance.
I mean, now he
I
is.
thought it was Toland.
Poor guy. At least
Maybe
he
like
used to be the
Toland
most
got
loved, and now he's the most hated.
I miss Rogue.
I hate Brother
What if
Vance.
Trials comes back and he becomes the vendor again? Then everyone would love him again. Full-
Would they
full
though?
turnaround.
Would
I
they
would have
though?
mixed feelings.
I mean,
You know,
it
my
seems like if
question is-
Trials does come back, it's going to be Osiris being the vendor after his
Yeah.
last line of maybe I should go to the city again.
Right? You mean Osiris can't like be in charge of his own event called after himself? Although he had no idea we were doing that in reality, so
Yeah, but now he
he
is.
might not have any interest.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
My
he
question
keeps an
is,
eye
why
on all
isn't
the
anyone-
guardians he likes.
Yeah. Why hasn't anyone ever tried to fly up to the Traveler and see if they can get in there? Or do you
Maybe
think
it is
anyone
force
has?
field.
Is there a force field?
They have probably and never came.
Or maybe,
And
or
they
maybe
never-
that's a
Maybe
no-fly
how we
zone.
make ghosts. You know, people
Yeah.
fly up there and they return to light and they become a ghost.
Or maybe
don't
it's a
know.
no-fly
Never
zone,
seen
and they just got missiles pointed, ready for anybody who tries.
Or is the Traveler
That-
so sacred that we try not to interfere with it? I mean, maybe for some, but I wouldn't say that
Yeah,
all
it's
guardians
sacred,
would
but then
follow
for
that.
others, Toland is trying to touch everything.
Yeah, exactly. I would feel
so
like Toland
there's
would
always
just-
There
gonna
has to be a Titan that had tried
Somebody
to punch the
Yeah.
Traveler, right?
some Titan tried to Paragon Greaves the Traveler out of the system.
Man at Arms.
I know, I was like, man,
Yeah.
watched that video for the first time yesterday.
Yeah, she watched it on camera while Man at Arms watched her reactions. And
Oh,
it's probably the
no.
funniest thing I've ever seen.
It was,
It was
pretty
the
much
most
the
beautiful
greatest thing
thing.
I've ever
She had
seen.
never seen the Paragon Greaves video, and it was just timed perfect.
Have you
He
shown her
also
the
yesterday-
Australian war, the Australian description video?
Mm.
Oh,
Nope.
I thought we were
An
talking
American
about the great
An American
Explains
wars of
Australia to
Australia.
Americans.
Yeah,
Mhm.
an American explains Australia.
I'm gonna need to watch these. No, Man at Arms also was nice enough. Normally, my carpet cleaner sits right here, and I only move it for streams. It's on the other side of that wall right now, hidden so well. He was nice enough to name it Ted
Yep.
as well yesterday.
Ted's our newest host on Guardians of Lore.
I actually had to bust out Ted during the stream because I spilled my drink.
Ted was here. Ted was
He
in the
was.
stream.
Should we move on?
Rick
to the next
was
question?
in chat for a little bit.
For
a
a
hot
hot
second.
He's probably not there anymore.
Yeah, then he went and hid because he forgot to text Matt.
Up. Someone wants the next question. Have
I
we
think
killed this
so.
question?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, I guess the answer is we have no idea what the Traveler looks
We have
like
no
from
idea.
the inside.
We don't know.
Unless you
So-
consider
Hey,
that
what's that?
concept art.
Because people wanted more decimal places with a score of
Can we get less decimal places?
34.285742857 That's repeating. There's obviously a fraction there. I can't
Can we
figure out
get
what it is.
pie somewhere in here at any point?
I mean, if you're hungry, yeah, sure. So Matthew Crowley asks,
Is that his real name?
I think if you're going to make up a name, you'd make up a better name than Matthew Crowley.
I'm just saying, isn't
Wow.
this like some Down Abbey? I'm very
No,
Yeah,
confused.
Down-
no,
Downton
no
Abbey,
offense to
right,
Matthew
yeah.
Crowley. I just
Baxter's
it's
throwing
not like-
shade
Came
over
back to
here.
go-
I don't,
Guardian.
no, it's not.
Wow.
Look,
Back
mean, there's a
to
reason-
Matthew
Baxter.
Crowley.
More unique.
Wow.
there's a reason I call myself Baxter
That's
and not my actual
yeah.
name.
Your name sucks.
More like backstabber.
Oh,
got
Ooh,
the
sick
puns.
burn.
I'm sorry.
Matthew, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's give Matthew Crowley a little bit more honor here. Let's read his
I think you should
question.
give him a
He'll
handwritten
get his
apology.
moment. He has a very long question.
Baxter's
does.
not your real name.
It is not.
No, obviously it's Ishtar.
Oh, that makes so much more sense.
Last name Collective.
Oh God.
Just like you are first name
Exactly.
Anon, last name Pig.
Yeah, I never took his name, so Take my name?
No.
Oh, okay.
Let's not dwell on that for too long. So, Matthew Crowley says, in the Darkness's diatribe in Unveiling. Diatribe has quite a negative connotation.
I love it. Keep going. I don't have any problem with this yet.
Yeah. They describe the garden as having worms slithering between the roots, feeding on what was and what might be. Isn't that what Ahamkara and worm gods are? Being in the same ecological niche who feed on the difference between wish and reality. Is that how their power compares to the gardener and the winnower? That even beasts such as they are merely worms underfoot?
Oh, that's a
Beautifully
beautiful
written,
question.
actually.
Right? That's
It has to be
wow.
Downton Abbey, Matthew Crow.
Yeah.
Yeah, portrayed so beautifully.
Wow.
So who wants to take this question and turn it into a dumpster fire?
We already did that just by being here.
I mean, I would imagine anything that was originally in the garden now in reality is different from its original form.
Mm.
So while worms that exhibit similar abilities of Ahamkara or gods existed in the garden, that isn't to say that they are the exact same thing. It's not like Ahamkara were in the garden and now they're not.
They just
But
grew into full
yeah,
size.
like what became of them could have become Ahamkara or worms or who knows what else.
Mm.
Yep.
And I mean, you know,
Oh, go ahead.
I wonder if like it's been a very long time, right? It's been like this, like these events kind of took place before the start of the universe. So perhaps these things, like, it's just the starting point, and like, you know, they diverged, just like all life on Earth, you know, started with, you know, a very small number of organisms, and then you know, different niches and reproduction led to this tree of all the different possibilities. Maybe the things that fell into the worms in the garden in that story did, you know, they were just the starting point potentially.
The other thing is, if the whole garden, quote unquote, metaphor was truly a metaphor, would that have just been basically the start of existence, the almost the Big Bang moment where everything kind of fell out of the garden, where things like the Ahamkara and the worm gods came into existence, where the you know, the winnower and the gardener's what's the best word for it? Avatar, if we want to say the traveler and the pyramid ships are quote unquote the avatar of the darkness, actually came into some sort of existence. Was this just the establishing of existence and things were not in their pre-existence form? You know, unveiling, I think a lot of it is metaphor, which is, or are we really thinking that the flower game took place in the literal garden, as in the black garden? Because I've always thought of, while that might have a tie-in, I always thought of basically they talked about how many times in the things like, what was it? The gardener was chewing on its cracked lip that was only there because it was a metaphor. I've always viewed the whole initial story of the garden kind of as their way of trying to place it in a way that our human brains or guardian brains could understand. So for me, it's like the Amkar of falling, the worms falling out of the soil is almost like the start of their existence in the same way.
Wasn't it
go
wasn't it
ahead.
also like confirmed that Ahamkara and worm gods are not the same species in something? It said
know
like
if it was
people
canon,
relate them,
but
but they're not actually related or something like that.
There was, I'm sure there was something, but I
'Cause
can't
then
remember what it was now.
that can
I think
kind
there
of
was a
explain
reference in the
both.
Books of Sorrow.
No, I think it was after that, like D2
Yeah.
or
So in the Books of Sorrow, you know, it said I can't, one of the
Dancing Veru said it was in Truth to Power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, in
Confirmed.
the Books of Sorrow, it was
that was
that
reliable.
you know, the what is it that they used the dragons for wishes, but it's an abomination. These are
Yeah.
our gods or something like that.
And
So
that
there was
Exactly.
that kind of spawned theories that maybe there were a few Ahamkara that branched off and became worm gods, and then we got, and Dancing Bear is giving us the answer. The Medusa narrator relates them saying they have similar powers, but they're different species, and that could kind of explain this garden thing. In the garden, there were metaphorical worms, but when it came into reality, they had a common ancestor that evolved into worm gods and evolved into Ahamkara.
Yeah, if the worm gods were truly in the middle of Fundament for all that time, they could have changed very differently than the rest
Also
of the
that, yeah.
species. Yeah.
But do you think? Okay, yeah, no, maybe that's too much of a tangent.
That had been my theory for a while, that they were both related, but they just had a common ancestor.
It's like a species divergence at somewhere along the
Like us and monkeys.
Because it does seem odd. Like Ahamkara have been confirmed to be able to change their shape, but can worm gods? Because like worm gods seem to be like the ability to go through like a metamorphosis, but not transformation.
That's a good point. I mean, the little ones in Hive still look fairly similar to the big ones we've seen.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like they grow, they slightly change, but they don't go from being a little worm larva and now they're like, actually, I want to be a cow. And like that's not just what happens.
That's true. Did you want to go down your tangent, Baxter?
Yeah.
Chat asked for your
No, I
Everyone's
mean, I don't
demanding their
know.
tangent.
How
I mean, the
tangent?
question.
Danny's
the
calling you out on it not being as tangenty as he thought it, as they were hoping.
Okay, so here's the tangent, right?
It wasn't
And
as tangenty as he made out.
Like
I'll let
seriously,
Danny
that
be
was
the
such a
judge
good
of how
tangent, dude.
tangenty this is.
That was brilliant.
What?
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 Oh,
Okay.
Aw.
Oh,
Wait,
God.
did Kevin leave?
It
Yeah.
looks like it.
He
I
didn't
hope
even
he's
say
alright.
goodbye.
Maybe he got disconnected.
Well, I saw his hand.
I saw his
Yeah.
hand
I
moving.
think someone walked in.
Okay, well, my tangent was,
That
do
was a
you
great
think
tangent.
that the worm gods were imprisoned from the start of the universe? It sounded like that is what you thought.
To who?
To Hyven, I think you said something along those lines.
Not necessarily that I think that they were. Yeah,
I mean, it was to anyone, really, anybody who listened.
I don't know if I would say they were imprisoned from the start of the universe, but it you can get real crazy now. It could be a similar situation to like, the Nine. You have different factions, or you had that one individual who did his own thing and got punished. They could have taken the worm gods, stuck them in fundament as a punishment of some sort. I don't necessarily think that they were there from the start of the universe. I think that quite possibly if the Ahamkara and worm gods were the same species at some point and they truly came into existence at the start of the universe, I think fundament would have come much later than that. So
yeah, but that could have also been the
lot of stuff
explanation
that
to the divergence too, is if they got put in fundament because they misbehaved, they would have,
and that's when they diverged.
Yeah,
maybe that's their original form. They lost the ability to shapeshift somewhere along the way.
The rebellion, the
I
angels
could speculate like crazy,
angels cast down.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think fundament is Saturn?
No.
But it has the same number of moons.
No,
I think
it doesn't.
fundament would have been a lot bigger.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, Saturn's pretty big, but
no.
52 moons.
Here we go. Ready? Get the popcorn ready. Here we go.
I'm ready.
Does it actually have 52 moons?
Yes, I'm not making that up.
Does it really?
Yes.
I don't know if I can trust it.
No, it has 82 moons.
Well, at the time of the lore, they only named 52 of them.
No, they've still only named 53 of them, but that doesn't mean I definitely don't think. Let's have a look. History of observations.
Just because they don't have names doesn't mean they don't exist.
Oh, okay. So here you go. Saturn has 82 moons.
That's exactly what it
are
means.
confirmed
Okay.
and named,
And another
other
29
are
moons.
awaiting
Oh, sorry.
confirmation. Yeah.
You were to say.
I mean, so that is kind of a good point. Maybe they just based Saturn off of
I don't think that makes sense.
I don't
I
like
don't
how
know.
you
Doesn't-
phrased that.
Yes,
It's kind of a
Hyven.
good point.
Maybe they base Saturn off of Fundament.
I know that's not. Yeah, I got those confused. Flip that.
Fundament is Saturn, and that's why Oryx goes back down to Fundament,
That's
and that's
maybe
how
it
the
just
worm gods
resembles-
get trapped there.
Or look at your face.
Mm,
Right?
You guys
Eh?
are just spouting
Nah.
nonsense.
no.
Eh?
Maybe.
I
Or it's like, I used to teach astronomy. I can't with this conversation.
Maybe Saturn and Fundament have some resemblance, and that's why Oryx felt so comfortable there. Felt like
He
home.
was stopped there by
Yeah, by
the
Mara.
9? Or is that Callus?
Well, actually, I think he just stopped there, and then he took a break after the onslaught from
The
when
9 stopped someone
I
out
thought
there.
the 9.
I thought the 9 stopped Callus.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Was that Callus? Am I getting him confused?
I don't remember.
It's the other big ship.
We're
Yeah,
questioning.
there's only 2.
Oh yeah, because
It's
Callus
the
was, like,
Leviathan,
locked in
but
a
not that
ship at some
Leviathan.
point.
the other Leviathan. There's 2 Leviathans. There's 2 ships, not related.
There's a lot of unrelated things that sure seem related.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm still reading about Saturn.
I'm telling you, man. Saturn is fundamental to the
Nah.
source.
I think we'd be a lot worse off if it was.
I
The
can't.
hive would have already been here from
But that was before we
the
were even
very
alive.
beginning. Yeah, but I think we would have just gotten
Maybe we are the
decimated.
Ammonites.
Oh my god! Now
Probably.
this is.
Did
this
you
is
say maybe
interesting.
we're the emissary? Like we don't know it?
No.
No,
The
Ammonites.
Ammonites.
not the
Ammonites.
Oh god, I heard emissary.
That is the emissary is even too much of a stretch.
That's insane.
Orin,
It's too far
I
from
I
somebody who
think
barely
Orin
understands
is the
things.
emissary.
Oh my god.
Little
Are we
did you
done
know
with
that
this
we're actually
tangent?
all
So-
cephalopods.
Speculation, but
Are we?
Well, a tangent was requested.
Yeah. So I don't know. Was
This
that
is what
tangenty enough for you, Danny?
I aim to
Wow,
please, man.
calling people out.
So aggressive. That was
Oh my
amazing.
God. Black facts, just like stop
Yeah.
listening.
Plus,
Also,
Zol
they're
got
coming-
trapped on Saturn. Thank
yeah,
you.
They're
got
commenting on
trapped on-
Zol. I don't know if that was Zol's final form, man.
That wasn't even Zol.
No,
apparently.
Yeah, I
his,
don't-
his
exactly.
final form was Whisper the Worm.
I don't know what's
No.
happening.
no.
Getting
No,
pow-
it's
just getting
not.
power from Whisper.
He's getting power. It's not him. He's not. No. God.
Tangent complete.
Wrong.
What is that
Right?
from?
Do we have any other talk
Mischief
of worms,
managed.
Ahamkara we want
Allowances
to go
have
on,
been
or
made.
should we?
Tangent complete. Nice.
That's like a catchphrase, isn't it?
God.
I don't
Do you
know.
have another question that's not
Baxter, are
this
you really
question?
considering Saturn and Fundament right now?
I can't stop thinking. I need to.
Stop
It
it.
doesn't matter.
Stop
Though. It's
it
fine.
now.
It's
Need
okay.
to start writing.
We'll
I'll
go on to
read
the
the
next
next
question.
The next question has a score
Not-
of 30.28571285714285714285371.
You sound broken.
The question is from Emma Rose, and the question is, what are your thoughts on the Traveler? It's a she, doesn't speak to you directly, more in
It's a
visions.
they.
It's a she. It goes by she.
It does.
It's an it. How dare you assign a gender to him?
They assigned it themselves. I think.
Did
Let's
they
finish the
though?
question.
Okay.
She doesn't speak to you directly, more in visions. My thoughts are that that of a father wanting their child to make their own choice, to let them learn how to walk and find their way to H&M, that store in the mall.
Obviously.
There's no A. There's no and. Just HM.
First of all, no, the Traveler is evil. The Traveler just doesn't want to be held accountable for any of the things that we do in its name. And so it's like, no, I didn't actually tell him to do that. No, I don't know where he got that. A vision? Well, he sounds crazy.
The Traveler wants to break
Evil
the final
Traveler.
shape, so it gives us little nuggets in order to cause some
tasty.
diversity in the universe. A little chaos, if you will.
Chicken nuggets.
Like chicken nuggets, yeah. I do you think the Traveler is evil?
I don't think it's evil,
I
but
do. I
I would
think the
say it could be
Traveler's evil.
slightly manipulative. Not like I would
Evil.
not say the Traveler is
Evil.
just here you go. I love all of humanity. I chose you as the best race around. I think that would be a bit of a stretch. I don't know.
Only slightly manipulative.
Traveler though. So
I don't think that
No,
the traveler is manipulative at all. I think that the whole I guess the whole point of the darkness versus the light is that the light has to be altruistic, you know. Otherwise, there's no point.
Yeah,
like yeah, I think we don't have a good enough understanding of the traveler's motivations and of the light as a concept. But what we do have is we have a lot of information about the darkness, and we know that like what the darkness represents. And I think it's reasonable to kind of say that the light is the inverse of that, which means that, you know, yeah, I think that's justification enough to the travel is kind of a good thing.
Yeah, I think I almost don't like to assign any type of morality to the traveler or the darkness. In the same way, if we go back to unveiling, the winnower and the gardener were just basically enforcing their two sides of their original jobs, their original existence. They made themselves the rules, so therefore they have to enact their nature in a way. So I don't know if I necessarily would even say that the darkness is evil, that the traveler is good. It is more of a maybe an order and a chaos, or it's the traveler has one goal and the darkness has the other. You know, you get into thoughts of the symmetry. They both have to exist, and you know we're in a
Ironically, the
position
traveler
where
is chaos.
Yeah,
I think the traveler is chaos. If you go
No,
back
I
to
mean,
the original unveiling, it
Mhm.
seems to be the
it
one
objectively
inducing the
is. Like,
chaos.
there's no debate about that.
Oh yeah, the winner wants one final shape because
Yeah.
of order, because that's just what was
And
happening.
I mean, it just doesn't even seem like the winnower even actually wants a final shape. It just wants the natural shapes to occur. And it's like
because
whatever
that's what happened. It wants
yeah.
it to just be let alone.
The winnower is like God from Futurama. If you do things right, it'll seem like you've done nothing at all. And the winnower's like, I'm just gonna let them do what they want. The traveler is like, I'm gonna tell this guy this and tell this guy that.
I like Dancing Viru's comment in the chat. He said, I think they're both just children who live for too long without growing up.
So there was a tweet that that Seth J. Dickinson made, which I've been kind of obsessed with, and it's something that I've wanted for a time as well. Which is he said, would it be cool to do as much philosophical deepening for the light as the darkness? Kind of a riposte to unveiling. I think there's a lot to be said about commensalism and the way that the ideology of evolution is fundamentally competitive/brutal has kind of blotted out the deep origins of altruism and mutual support.
Yeah.
And I feel as though this is, you know, we have a certain like the darkness pretty much represents like social Darwinism, which is this, you know, like this idea that it's survival of the
I wouldn't even say
strongest
it's social. I would just say it's Darwinism.
It's just Darwinism. Yeah.
No, because
but it's like on steroids.
No, because Darwinism, survival of the fittest doesn't mean survival of the strongest. It means survival of the one that is the best suited for a particular environment.
But
right, but that is sword logic though. Because you have the three sisters. You have the three sisters though.
I disagree with that because I feel as though, you know, you can have humans have survived for hundreds of thousands of years because of the ability to work together and to you know
to adapt.
not even so much to. I mean, it is an action. You know, the sword logic does not. You know, as far as the sword logic is concerned, you know, working together is an abomination. You know, like
I'd argue that sword logic is the hive's viewpoint or representation of that final shape. That the winnower itself just wanted whatever was best, whatever was meant to happen. So that maybe the winnower would be more compared to Darwinism, whereas
the worm gods and the hive
the
are more of the
hive, or the
social
worm
Darwinism.
gods, yeah, could be more of that. Like, it's their interpretation of what they think their mission in this world is to do, and maybe they've interpreted it a little off. They've thrown a little bit more of their own spin or own viewpoint into the original thought.
Yeah.
Speaking of Seth, I do hope he's okay.
Yeah, me too.
Have we gotten an update?
No, I just
Okay.
double checked.
What happened? I missed that.
He went to the hospital for
Oh no.
self-care.
Oh no.
Hopefully that goes okay.
Jeez.
Yeah, I hope he's okay.
There's a question in chat. When the darkness and light combine, they create ?
Captain Planet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Is this the rainbow ending from Mass Effect?
Oh,
don't even-
Which
don't.
one do we want to go on that one?
No, I'm not going to start it. I'm not gonna I would argue that they
Not going to
can't
start it. I think you
combine.
already did.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
I want the fourth option.
I view them almost
Shoot,
as they
kid.
have to be opposites to keep balance.
Mm.
Maybe not opposites, but they can't change. If we're going to believe Unveiling and that they truly are the laws of their own game, and the game's already been started, they have to enact their laws, so they cannot team up as Captain Planet might.
Yeah. But it's interesting because if you need to have a balance of the two, then maybe you can eliminate both,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you can't eliminate one without the other. But if you took them both out,
I'd be interested to see what would happen if you did eliminate one, because that's kind of a theme in a book I read when I was a kid, and I actually just reread them. It's basically about the buildup of killing the devil, and there's the dark and there's the light, exactly like Destiny, and obviously the devil is the dark, and it's like, no, we need to kill the devil. That's the best thing that we could do. And then at the very end, the devil's like, if you kill me, you realize who's going to replace me, right? And it's like, I'm much better than the other guy. You don't want to kill me. The other guy is so much worse. And then kill him, and then the other guy is much worse. And it's like, oh no.
Well, that's the saying, the devil you know.
Yeah, the devil and that's kind of like what happens if we do kill the darkness. Like, who's gonna fill that place? Like, would the worm gods actually be able to jump in that and actually, because they are like a more extremist viewpoint, like you said, they are kind of more of an extremist viewpoint of the Winnower's logic, where the Winnower is just like, I just want everyone going to die, and the worm gods seem to be like, I just want to kill everything.
And then to counteract my own point completely is, as was brought out, the Unveiling is kind of a one-sided story. We're still looking for the other side from the Traveler. Granted, it is painted in kind of a what's the best word for it? It's painted in a way that it's kind of just fact. It's a very matter of fact, like, this is how things were. I'm just going to tell you what happened. Believe it. But granted, that might not be the case. That could not be the true story of the start of it all, for all we know.
All of the best propaganda is framed in that way.
Yeah.
Right.
I love me some
Did we
propaganda.
answer that question? We went on so many tangents.
Yeah, we did. What was the original question again?
The original question.
What are your thoughts on the Traveler?
What are your thoughts on the Traveler? So that really wasn't a tangent. Those were our thoughts on the Traveler.
I guess, did we actually answer? Do we agree that it wants us to make our own choices, but just guide us the right way?
I don't. I think the Traveler's evil.
It's
like
evil.
straight up. I don't trust it. Like, it brings you back to life, rebirths you, and then like essentially gives you a gun and tells you to fight for it. Like,
I think maybe
I don't
it's
think it does
nudging
any of
us in
that,
the right
though.
direction.
Like, I know
think
that's
we've
distilling it
interpreted that as what
into-
we're supposed to do. I think the
I
reason
don't
that happened to us is because of the whole consensus and how
Yeah,
the
that's what I
Vanguard
mean.
was organized.
When the first Guardian was risen, they weren't like, well, I need to defend the Traveler. It's like, I need to defend
They were
myself.
warlords, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I need to
but,
defend
I mean,
myself.
that's
I
what
need
our
to.
ghosts said to do, essentially.
Well, but even then,
that's not
the
what every
original
ghost said to do.
Yeah, the
No, but
original
that's what our
ghosts.
ghost said
Drifter?
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the city age, after this
Mhm.
establishment, this is what a guardian is. This is what you should be. But I'm
Yeah,
saying
but I
Does
don't
not-
think that we
the-
should
Yeah.
have to choose to be a guardian. I think you can be a light bearer and not
Yeah.
be a guardian.
But I think
but
that's
that's
not necessarily because
society demands
Yeah,
you be a
that's
guardian. That's my
society.
point.
Well,
Yeah.
F
The
society.
the traveler
and do
doesn't
whatever I
demand you
want.
be a guardian.
We found the warlord.
Society demands you be a guardian.
Right.
Really, it's
This is
Bungie.
having you and I
Bungie
can
makes
go
you be
off
a
and-
guardian.
That's right. We wouldn't have a
Yeah.
game.
He should make the game.
Ah, I didn't
Right
say
here.
I didn't say
No.
that.
that. No,
Ooh.
We got
I'm
it.
very happy that Bungie makes us be guardians. Thanks, Bungie.
I'm
See, see,
I
I
don't
have
know.
the
I
school
don't
of
trust
thought.
endorsement.
thing where you can't see where you keep its brain.
I'm
like
the
Harry
I'm
Potter.
the wow.
Mhm.
I'm of the school of thought that the traveler's manipulative as all get out, but I'm
It
drinking the
doesn't do
Kool-Aid.
anything.
Yeah,
The
that's
Traveler-
kind of
yeah,
my thing.
but
It's
so,
not
like,
acting.
so
I
it's
think
doing
the
it.
thought
It
is
built
that
the
it's-
ghosts. So it built the ghosts in such a way that it brings us back without our memories.
But the ghosts
Like,
didn't even have their
that's not-
memories. They didn't even know
yeah.
what they were supposed to be doing, other than they just had one directive, which was to try to find their counterpart.
Mhm.
I
And
think
to say
a lot of the stuff we've made up in our own in-game like speculation and lore and history as guardians.
I would say it's almost maybe naive to say that ghosts are bringing us back without memories. I don't think the ghosts are like, haha, let's bring him back, but without his memories. We
Right.
died. We died. Our brains got
it's-
reset. That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Like they are
Yeah,
reset
we-
brains. We
They
don't
can
have
bring back
memories for a
flesh,
reason.
not memories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When your brain is reconstituted, you're basically you're fresh baby brains when you first come back.
If anything,
Think about
Confessions
the
of
thing
Hope
is-
Baby probably had its memory because it was so freshly dead.
But
Well,
the
it's
thing
like
is,
dead
there
on
are
the
certain
table.
guardians that still
No, 'cause that's not
retain
true
like
because,
language skills.
Nobu was revived very quickly after dying, and she had no memory.
And that's a fair
Mm.
point.
Mm.
Yeah, she
That's
was
right. I
dead.
have a couple of those.
Boo.
But then Shinobu
Cameron just
took her-
leaves and says, I'm done. I know.
I'm done.
Pretty damn
Mic
proud
drop.
of
Drop the
that.
mic.
Camera off.
George
Pulls her
Costanza
mic
walked out.
off the stand.
That's it for me.
Yeah, rips it out of the shock mount and throws it on the ground. Please
No,
don't.
my
But-
husband would divorce me if I did that.
No one
That's
has.
okay. You already made it limp last night, so
All right, I don't know. I was just thinking
The
Let's-
mic.
let's-
The mic.
Non's reaction is just like, go back, hang on.
he had a technical hardware difficulty that I fixed with
hardware.
the microphone.
Hardware.
Had to tighten that screw.
Well, we have any other
I need
thoughts?
more.
Did I derail from that question?
So back to the topic at hand is
Simon, real quick, wants to get away from this.
Baxter.
no. Back
I'll
to
be
this,
I'll be
I'm
the
not
one to
in
say it.
this.
I know a few people they have to leave. Do we want to do one more? Do we want to
Yeah,
end?
I need to get going too.
Well, what's the
Yeah.
next question, and how long would it? Oh, I don't know.
It
if we
starts
should get
with
into the next
crackpot
question.
speculation time,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna do
Yeah.
that one.
No.
No.
I think it's probably best that we end it because it took us about 15 minutes
Yeah.
to end it last time, just talking about the tower being built on the backs of dead titans or something. So
Yep.
we should probably just get
That
that
was
Because
ball
Titans
rolling
are the
now.
only stable ones.
Yeah, I would say we probably need to do
Nan
this
was
next
so
question refers
offended.
to food and the pyramid.
I'm
His
sorry.
face.
Are you aware that Dredge and York exist?
One
mentioned
bad
it
seed.
specifically.
Oh yeah, just one. Uh-huh.
I mean, but
Totally.
as bad seeds go, it was pretty bad. You know?
Yeah, I can't.
Hunters are clearly the purists. We're just like, leave us alone.
Just
That's
as
it,
long
end
as I
of
look good.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Hunters-
Leave us alone.
Hunters are literally like, leave us alone, but we're gonna prank you.
Yeah.
Deal with that.
Stabby to be considered pure.
What? They're pure as a
Defend
driven
ourselves.
snow. That they're
Pure as
exotic.
Are we just
driven
gonna
snow.
end this in classic fashion, Blue? Just goodbye.
Yeah. Bye. Or unless Baxter wants to clap.
Why are we
That
clapping?
doesn't make sense in this scenario. Really.
You want to clap? I can do it.
A round of applause for our brilliant team. Whichever they are.
Don't clap because the dogs don't like it.
Oh my god, Code and Callie are freaking out.
Wow.
They have the horde of dogs. It's just like
we should clap more often.
As one final parting statement, would you agree that Saint 14 was a great Titan?
Oh, absolutely.
He was the best Titan.
Well, then I have to inform you that Saint 14 was inspired by me, a hunter.
No, he was inspired by me. Oh, did he? Whatever. No, you can't do that. Oh, he had his finger on the trigger. Oh.
Oh, that's the greatest.
That was, yeah.
Oh, that was the
Oh,
greatest.
That was good.
Oh my god. Oh.
oh. All right, stream.
Shut up.